Who's there? Is anybody out there? I know some of you got here before me, but I mean, that was... Ooh, shoot, okay. Is anybody out there? I know some of you... Isn't it interesting? You can turn the volume off on the side of your phone. You can bring the volume all the way down. But sometimes then if you play a video, it goes, surely you would like the volume raised up again, wouldn't you? No. And you know how you know? Because I did not tell you to do it. So, Space, the Final Frontier, says Reed Underhill. Why is it T Underhill? T-E-E. Are you a golfer, Reed? Hey, Denise. Netreamer, I'm guessing tonight's will be a short show. Oh, I mean, Brian will say it's going to be... It's going to be a short show. I thought you were going to make a short joke, except that you're no taller than me, as I recall. Oh, I see that showed up twice there. James, evening, we'll be listening once the Spectrum Live Awards are done. Excuse my ignorance, what are the Spectrum Live Awards? I'm the man of the hour 3. Oh, that's interesting. It looks like it just posted something I commented. Or 2, or 3. Sorry, I can't stay. Dylan, but we'll most definitely watch in the morning. Bah, it'll be irrelevant by tomorrow morning. If there even is a tomorrow morning. You're very optimistic. Dylan, if that is your real name. T is my family nickname. Cool. I can see Reed, T. It's a pretty obvious connection. Netreamer, we've already dropped 50 frames. But I did do both those changes. I changed the bitrate to 3500, and I went ahead and made it variable bitrate. So we can discuss that later, but 2 experiment up, and it was just up over 4,000. But then it dropped back down to 3,700, 3,800. The variable is killing me. Hey, Bill. And hello, Juan Sebastian Valbuena Bermudez. Bermudez? Android doesn't change my volume. It knows I'm smart. Does anyone have any snacks? Are you eating or drinking anything? Hold on a sec. So, yeah, any good food today? I can't think. I don't recall. I don't recall consuming food, but perhaps I did. Sometimes the day gets by me and I don't eat that much. But hope the sound's okay and the picture's okay and the content. That's bullshit. But you knew that going into it. What did you expect? I actually did bring some stuff. You know, eventually, for sure, we're going to use more of the technology here. And if I have a picture to show you, I'll have it scanned or digitized in one form or another, and I'll pull it up properly. But that's not what's happening tonight. But I did bring some stuff. I brought some stuff because last night we talked about Richard Brautigan and some other stuff. So since a couple of my Brautigan books, instead of being down here, they're at my next door neighbor's house. They're in the process of being decontaminated so that she can read them and not get virus particles in her eyes. And, but a couple of these books, I might have more than one copy of, theoretically. So I went upstairs and I brought a couple books that if you're interested later, maybe we'll... Oh, Dom! Dude! Hey, Brian, actually about to eat my dinner. Eat your dinner. What are you eating? What do you got? I think you have high... You're a bit of a foodie, right? And I think you have high food standards based on what I know you, Dom. Thanks for joining. Netreamer, red wine and chocolate-covered gummy bears. I forgot my dark chocolate. Yeah. I brought some pecans that my neighbor gave me. Before they're like pieces of pecans. that my neighbor gave me before the social distancing got real bad. When we still were able to talk to our neighbors. And I mock because we live in mortal fear. Why not? What else? What are you gonna do? Cried a little last night. Let's try to laugh a little tonight. We'll balance it out. Red wine, and I have a little red wine as well. When I say a little, you can just judge by the heft of this how little or how much. So whatever it means, taxing my CPU at 26%, but I've dropped 194 frames. I just watched it change a couple times. So it's random. It doesn't, there's nothing obvious that it's related to. Really good cupcakes. James has really good cupcakes from the Thirsty Whale in Minneapolis. I like Minneapolis. I haven't been there in a long, long time, and I don't care to ever go back in the winter. I don't know how you live with that. Minneapolis is a very cool city, but the winters, I think I'm just done with that. I was born in Chicago, and I was like 5 years old when we moved to Texas. Wasn't my decision. I don't even think I was consulted at all, honestly. Like it wasn't a big change of life for me. I swear I have this memory. I find it hard to believe, but I have this memory of when we were moving from Chicago to Texas. And you know, everyone I ever knew, my whole life, all 5 years of it, was in Chicago. All my friends, all our relatives, everyone was in Chicago. And so when we were moving to Texas, I wasn't happy about it. And I have this memory of, maybe it wasn't right before we moved. Maybe it was like on a trip, a subsequent trip back. I'm not sure. But the memory was of me swearing that I would never say y'all. Does that sound like something a 5-year-old would even say or think? But I was like adamant, like I didn't like, I guess I didn't, at 5 years old, I did not think that moving to Texas was a good idea. And it's too bad my Texas friends aren't on right now, because they should get involved in this. But it turned out to be a great idea. Texas is actually pretty cool. Grew up in Houston, lived in Austin for a long time. But this is all to say that those northern winters, I think I'm done with that. Here in Raleigh, Austin, and Houston, winter is so harsh. This winter in Raleigh, it snowed one time. There may have been a couple flurries another time, maybe. And I was out of town a little bit, but this was before the apocalypse. There was a time when we used to travel. We'd go to other cities. We'd fly airplanes. They're hard to explain. They're kind of amazing, but we don't have any of those anymore. And certainly traveling to another city to perform in front of a gathered group of humans, that is behavior that we do not indulge in anymore, Mr. and Mrs. So, Dominic's got rice and beans and fake chicken nuggets, living the gastronomic dream, as I expected of you, Dom. Show and tell, exactly, Bill. I brought a little show and tell. I brought one item just because it has a story. And you know what I'd really like to see is our friend Natalie, if she comes on, she's asked me specifically about Mitch Hedberg, my old comedian friend. One of my many dead friends. Do you know that song it's People Who Died by Jim Carroll. I was kind of hung up on Lewis Carroll. Do you know that song, People Who Died by Lewis Carroll? Oh yeah, all these people have died. All these people have died. They were all my friends, and they died. That is a great song that we used to hear on the radio a lot more. I don't even listen to the radio anymore, but I pulled it up on Spotify recently because the subject of people I know that have died is a big one. I guess the older you get, but I just think a little too young, I had 3 best friend level friends already dead, and some other pretty good people, and family, obviously. grandparents and stuff, that's not even worth bringing up, hardly, because that's expected. Did you even get to meet all your grandparents? Not me. My dad's dad, never met him. He died before I was even born. Technically, his wife, my grandmother, I also never met because she died. My dad's mother died young, and his dad married her unmarried sister, which I think was not a scandalous or unusual thing to do. She died, her sister was unmarried, and he married her. And she, in the photos I've seen, she seems to resemble her quite a bit. I don't know that they were twins, but they had a very strong resemblance. But so my dad's dad died long before I was born, and my dad's mom also died, well, I don't know exactly when, either before I was born or at least before I gained consciousness, Denny. If this is what you can call this, I'm skeptical. You'd be right to be skeptical. DeGov. Sup, Brian? Says DeGov. DeGov, do I? How you doing out there in Periscope land? What's it like out there peering through the periscope? This is what, you stuck up your little periscope and you found this. Is this what you expected? I was in the middle of a story that had something to do with moving to Texas and dead people who died. Yeah, family. And, I say that, but I don't mean, you know what, a friend of mine just said that her, I guess an uncle or great uncle just died in, I think, New Jersey. There was a story about him in the New York Times. His name was Bucky something, and he played 7-string guitar. Not 12, not 6, 7-string guitar. He used that, the 7th one was tuned really low as a bass line, she told me. And he was like a well-known and respected jazz guitarist who actually, he played with Paul McCartney maybe one time. I'm not saying he, fifth Beatle, they call him the fifth Beatle, but I think he just played with Paul McCartney at least once. And anyway, I'm not trying to demean people whose loved ones have just died, but we expect our grandparents to die. My mom, so that doesn't even bode well for me. My parents had health problems, but they were largely self-inflicted. I hope entirely self-inflicted. You can't really know, genetics or environment. They died young, but they were lifetime smokers, obese, sedentary lifestyles, all the things you want, really, to guarantee that outcome. And then his parents died really young, and hers did much better. Although her dad ended up in a home with what was called then hardening of the arteries or arteriosclerosis. Maybe it was Alzheimer's. Unclear, but I think the way it presents is the same fucked up situation, basically. But Grandma Sue, my mom's mom, she smoked her whole life and she made it to about 88. And even what took her out at the end was almost not necessary. It resulted from unnecessary surgery, a complication that took her down. But she was my favorite grandparent, but also basically the only one I really knew. We knew her husband when we were very little, me and my sister. All right, show and tell. That was a story. Getting all personal and shit. Where are my peeps? James says in Minneapolis, the winters are cold, but do not stop me from wearing a kilt to the office every day. Do you also have some kind of stockings on or under there? Where do you work that you wear a kilt? James Tomas? Well, I guess I shouldn't throw like a Latino accent on your Scottish comment. Bill says, I'm getting a Mad Max Beyond the Thunderdome apocalypse storytelling vibe. Oh, yeah. That's exactly what I've thought. I don't know, did you hear the other night, yesterday, day before, time is a blur. maybe just for me, but I want to say objectively, universally, factually, time is a blur. Something's happened. These are weird times. It is a Stephen King apocalyptic stand, comma, the vibe. Death is in the air. I read some of that death-themed book last night, So the Wind Won't Blow It All Away by Richard Brautigan. One of my very, very favorite books. I don't think you should start with that one, too, though. I think you should build up to it, as I said. Well, this is a happy show, says Elizabeth. It's astounding. Albert, I was talking shit about Texas, and I was wishing you were there. It was about when I moved to Texas from Chicago, I was 5. I was not consulted on the decision, had very little to do with it. If I had won, but I think I did try to sway the decision, and I do know that I proclaimed to our friends that were next door neighbors that I will never say y'all. But I didn't finish that story, because guess what? Narrator says, it was not long before Brian was using y'all regularly. Hey y'all, are you hunkered down? Oh yeah, Albert, that's why you said that. Time is fleeting. Sup to Gov, where did you go? Anyone else eat? Albert, what was for dinner tonight? I think I forgot to eat anything substantial. I had some wheat thins flavored, I think they're tomato basil wheat thins with some hummus, garlic flavored hummus. I picked at that. I've probably eaten, only because they're our sponsor, string cheese. When you want to express through your dairy dietary choices your love of physics and string theory, there's only one choice for you, and it ain't cheddar unless it comes in the string cheese form. But I don't even think cheddar can do proper strings the way this can, which is somehow a metaphor, if not for the universe, for our lives, the way they're unraveling right now, right before our eyes on this very show. Maybe it's not our lives. Maybe it's just my life. Probably. But denial is how I would probably take out some of these little crumbs. I had to bring a little plate to put my little, look at this. This, when I said my neighbor gave me some pecans, crumbled pecans, I wasn't kidding. I've already eaten, it was probably up to here. So they're really good, but that's probably a mistake. Choking or spitting up bits of nut towards the camera. Did we miss the appetizers? What'd you have, Susan? What'd you have, Albert? Party on, Brian. Party on, Albert. Speaking of which, says Denise, I watched a film of yours and Mitch's last night after your show, Los Enchiladas. Yeah, that's one of our films. That's the film that Mitch, it was his thing, his idea. He wrote and produced. I worked on the script a lot with him, and I co-produced it. And yeah, you got anything to say? Oh yeah, I did mention it. Did I even say the title of it? I remember I mentioned that Dave Attell, Mark Maron, and Todd Barry all have cameos. Everyone else, hey, by the way, wait, James. Was it James? James, are you still out there? I don't know if you're familiar with Mitch Hedberg, old friend of mine. He came from Maplewood, suburb of St. Paul, Minnesota, and when we made this movie, we went and we got an apartment in downtown Minneapolis, and we spent a couple months there, and we had help from his family, because they live right there, and old friends that also were still in the Twin Cities, and oh, too bad Natalie's not here to hear this whole, hey, Science the Optimist, how's it going, man? What camera, hey, Nathan, 1 second, I'm really bad at threads, but I'm using a camcorder. It's a Canon Vixia something. I forget the model number, HG20, maybe? So it's a proper camcorder, and it's coming into my laptop with a Blackmagic mini recorder to capture it, and then I'm using OBS. That's even more than you asked. That's what kind of camera I'm using. All right? You ask me a question, you better be prepared. We're dropping so many frames, it sounded to you like I missed an entire syllable in that last word. But that's just a manifestation of dropped frames. NetReamer, now you asked what the problem was. There, you just experienced it. You probably thought I missed a syllable in that word, but come on. Is that even possible? What story was I telling? Twin Cities. James, are you still out there? Dude. Hey, Kimberly. And hey, Regina. Oh my God. Did you hear all that, Regina? Yeah. I don't know where you came in, but I'd first been sort of downplaying the fact that we expect our old relatives to die. But then I felt like, well, I'm not trying to demean the loss of anyone's. But in the big picture, we do know that's going to happen. The worst thing that can happen is, I guess, is when children die. To some people, maybe it's not. But to most people, that's like one of the most horrifying things when a parent loses a child. Hard to compete with that on the scale of badness. Oh, shit. Speaking of scales, did you see when Trump said that stupid thing about models, that stuff he was doing with his, like it almost looked like he was thinking of the other models the whole time. He was doing weird, it's just that whole thing is that I have this very strong sense, you know it too, that when he thinks of the numbers of people that have died, it is just numbers to him. I don't think he gets through that layer down to the actual people. It's just, fuck, his numbers are bad. He can't get elected if his numbers are bad. My numbers are bad. We got to get these numbers up or down. The stock market numbers, we need those numbers to go up. The numbers, we need to get these numbers down. They're just numbers and they need to go down. I think that we're capable, many of us, most of us, some of us, is there even one of us, who when we think about the numbers of what we think about is just like the intense load of humanity that is, the number of actual humans. Like we don't just think 1 million dead and think 1 million is a big number and that's not gonna look good in the history books and I don't know if I'm gonna get elected. I think we think 1 million humans died. And I don't think we think it all the way through to that level of each of them has a story and a life and all that. But I do think most of us have some empathy. Some? Just, is that too much to ask from the leader of the free world? So, all right there, let's go back. Oh, Elizabeth's eating eggplant parmesan. So good. Albert is eating such foodie stuff that I'm going to have to stumble on the pronunciation. I predict that there will be some dropped frames in this very next word. Tagliatelle Bolognese. About to finish the chocolate cake. Have another piece of chocolate cake. Crowded House, chocolate cake. Song recommendation, Crowded House, chocolate cake. Kind of critical of America and our sweet tooth for sappy music and sappy stuff and cheesy stuff. And then chocolate cake. That's nuts, Albert said. I agree with you and I don't even know what you're referring to. Kimberly just got here. First thing I heard was spit nut at, yeah. Regina, thanks for mentioning. Yep, got a DYI. Hang on. Don't go away. Hey, stay there. Don't go away. So, no, I didn't have anything even resembling a mask. But my next door neighbor, Albert, your cousin, 1,600 miles removed, Kim, my neighbor, made some masks, and I wrote to her, and she gave me one. I haven't tried it on yet because she hung it on my doorknob, and we had no human contact. And then I picked it up I want to say with tweezers, but I probably picked it up and I put it down on the bookcase next to my door, and I left it alone for a couple days so that because before I put it on my face, I want at least some of the virus from her infectedness to be gone. But she, I don't know what she made it out. I know it's made of cotton, and it's not an N95 mask, but it's stylish. She also said that she had one left that wasn't too feminine, I guess she has some pink ones, and she didn't think they were my style, I guess, because I am oh so masculine, as we all know. So yes, and Aaron, the sciencey optimist, are you so optimistic that you don't have a mask? Speak to me, sciencey optimist. Susan, I made Hoppin' John and biscuits. He chose pasta. That's it. That sounds like the tagline of a movie or something. I made Hoppin' John and biscuits. He chose pasta. Nathan, did you catch my answer to you if I gave it in a timely manner? Oh my God, Elizabeth, I made eggplant tonight too. That is so weird, Kimberly. You changed again. Shirts? Or you mean my personality? Does anyone see anything else that's different? I got a fresh t-shirt right out of the closet. Quarantine, hey, if we wear the same shirt a few times, these are quarantine times. Funniest thing you've heard this week, sciencey optimist. Oh my God, you put me on. What? Let me ask you, Aaron, what's the funniest thing you heard this week? And let me think about it. I can only think of infuriating things that I'm trying to be funny in response to when I get over the anger. Kimberly, we're twin foodies. What's in the cup? Kimberly, what's in your cup? Mine? Is going to rhyme with that because it's red wine. Blah, 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 a bat. Yeah, Regina. I don't know if I finished saying, but pretty cool. So did he play with Paul McCartney just one time? What was it? What else happened? Like, that's a story worth, you can elaborate on that. Did he sit in, like, was it in a studio? Was it on stage? Tell me a little bit about that. Everyone likes a brush with greatness and if it's Paul McCartney, anyone would want to hear that story. Okay, Sciencey Optimist says, 103-year-old man got and recovered from COVID in time to celebrate his 104th birthday. Really? Well, see, that's good news. That's good news because I'm hearing about younger people who didn't make it to their next birthday. I don't like those stories. Bill, it would also be horrible if nobody died ever. Yeah, it would get pretty crowded. But I was going to say we might slow down on how much sex we have, but it probably wouldn't work out that way either. So many people, so much sex. It would just escalate, yeah. So then, yeah, what would happen if we had immortality? Or longevity anyway. Bill and Albert, let me put this to everyone, but suddenly Albert and Bill, the reason I'm asking you is that there are people in communities that we're kind of related to and of the same mind of that that really want to crack longevity. So what's your feeling? So question for everyone. What's your feeling about life extension? Would you want to live 500 years? If you had the option to live 500 years or 1,000 years, would that even make a difference? Let's say if you could be immortal or live like 500 or 1,000 years, and you don't just get progressively older so you're like dust for the last centuries. You're like decent. You know, if we have that, then I'm going to assume that we have you in good health, and probably your aging is frozen at some point in your 30s or 40s or something. 20s or 30s maybe. Hey, Mark Kaplan, I see you there. So, what about I went back to the red light district, but, what is it? Is it a new moon or something? What's going on? What's going on? It's certainly not a full moon, is it? Yikes. When I went to turn on the moon, it didn't turn on. So I have it plugged in and it's charging, but it was not on long enough to even do that. Oh, wait. It was a long show last night. I don't know how long it lasts. Maybe that's the limits of it. Maybe it's got about 4 hours in it. I wouldn't be surprised. But it's charging up. I don't know how long it takes to charge, but we'll pull it out in a while. Oh, okay. Could you just help me out? I'm just curious. Are we in sync? Because I've dropped 438 frames and I don't know what it means. Ready? Help me out. Are we in sync? Does it look like, because I don't know if you noticed, last night's show, you'd have no reason to go back and look at them, but I have to. Last night's show, everything is way out of sync on the replay. It's very frustrating. People see that, it's gonna look like shit. If you're hearing this now and it's out of sync, you just have to believe me that it's in sync when it goes out live and later it's out of sync, and it's bullshit. And I'm trying to figure out why. NetReamer, that variable bit rate, it has it way over 35, and I think that I want to limit it to 35. But even when I set a constant bit rate at 4,000, it didn't limit it to 4,000. It limited it to just a little over 4,000, like 4,200. It'll be horrible if nobody died ever. He's a textbook narcissist. There's just him and his ratings. Trump, not Brian. You sure waited a long time to make that clear, Alberto. I love the background sound so much. You like this one? Cool. I pulled a different song, and it's by the same guy. Kevin MacLeod? Somebody? It's in the description. Nicely done. Albert, what was nicely done? Was something nicely done? I need to know. If I managed to do something nicely, you need to be more specific. Science the Optimist says, we have several styles of DIY masks. Yeah. But I saw you walking on the street in a video and you were not wearing a mask. And maybe that's why that guy steered so clear of you, because he's like, well, that guy is clearly not being responsible and he's talking into his own phone. I'm going to steer way clear of that guy. That's what happened there. In case you didn't know, Aaron, that's what happened there. I'm glad I could make that clear to you here in my video, commenting on your video. What do you think? Have you watched any of those reaction videos? I think I mentioned them the other day, where sometimes usually what I've seen is that they play music and they react to it. They're like, you're watching them. And I've seen some guys that were really entertaining. You go, he's listening to a Rush or a Queen song for the first time, and he's like, and he's like really appreciating it. And some of them just can be so, if they have a very expressive face, they're fun to watch them. And if they really appreciate the music, it can be pretty entertaining. But what a weird genre. And there was a guy that listened to this Rush album, and it was with the Spirit of Radio, which is a really cool song. I don't know what you think about Rush, but you cannot deny what an amazing song that is about music, the spirit of music and radio, and then it celebrates like the glory of music and radio specifically. And then it also has a little indictment of the music industry and the way it's all commercialized. And it's an amazing song, and we should probably discuss the lyrics to it. But my point, you didn't think I had one, but there's a point, which is that I saw this guy really loving this Rush album, and I thought what I should have done, and if I was set up like this at the time, I think I totally should have done this. He did this reaction video to the music, but he was really focused on the music. And he would sometimes talk over the lyrics, and he wasn't appreciating the lyrics. He was only appreciating the music. And I wanted to go, dude, you've got this, Neil Peart, drummer of Rush, interesting lyricist. I wanted to have him do a reaction video. Let me read you the lyrics to The Spirit of Radio and see you react to that. I thought that would have been pretty cool. But, you know, that was a year ago, months ago. That was in another era when life was different. All right, what do we got? Good evening, said Mark Kaplan, and he's been here a while. That was at 22:08, maybe 8 minutes ago. You're in the red light district. I am. Mark, Mr. Nurk, saying hi. Mine was pink grapefruit sparkling water, says Kimberly, but I may switch to the wine soon since I have some here, and it's Saturday night. Rabbi Kaplan blew out his candles and killed his whole family. Hey, Rich Moore, I hope you're still out there. Did I get rid of you within 7 or 8 minutes? Are you really out there? So the world will be changed forever, for the better in some ways, but definitely changed. A strength will be gained, I predict. Well, I hope so. And this wouldn't be my live stream if I didn't mention Brian May, guitarist of Queen, stereo photographer, evangelist, publisher of stereo photography, animal rights activist, astrophysicist. You may have heard his song, We Will Rock You. Brian May, you should be following him on Instagram, and pretty much every day he posts a little video where he talks and plays music. He's been giving guitar lessons. He's been showing why he does some chords or what chords. He's been showing the chords to some of his songs or how to play a solo. He's been doing a couple covers and a Beatles song and talking about John Lennon and the Beatles, and it's really worth your time. They're short videos, but they're so good. And in one of them, he said something like that too, Rich. He said, but I mean, well, he didn't proclaim it like you have or predict it, but he hoped that in some way we would be changed by this, that we would learn something from this and change something. Sciencey Optimist, the Cuomo brothers crack me up. Yeah, they're an interesting pair. Yeah. Oh my God, Mark. Agree, Rich. Okay, so Kimberly agrees with you, Rich. Absolutely, compound interest would provide a comfortable life. Albert. Oh yeah, I had a feeling you would be for it. What I asked earlier was if you had the option to live and be reasonably healthy for 500 or 1,000 years, or maybe even immortal. What about immortal? Some people don't like that, but I don't understand. I'm with you, Albert. I will never, just think there's so many books, so much music, so much, there's just so much art, so many things to learn. You could learn about history, you could learn about science. What else is there? Are there any other subjects? I feel like science covers everything. What else is there? Languages, you could learn languages and about other cultures. You could meet a lot of people, and you will, and most of them will die. And that's the sad core to the Highlander movie, which of course had songs by Queen. Who wants to live forever when love must die? I do. I don't live forever now and love died. Fuck it. Let me live forever. If love is gonna die anyway. So yeah, I want to live forever. Jeez, I solved that one. Get Brian May on the phone. Bri, I want to live forever. I know love dies. Fuck. I learned that a long time ago in a galaxy right here. Oh, okay, let's see what's in the comments. Rich Moore, Mark, Rabbi Walter's wife died. Everybody dies, act accordingly. We're all dying, act accordingly, something like that. That's, do you know that line from what movie? Who says that? Anyone? Rich Moore, when the masks come off, we will have a different identity underneath. Rich, last night I quoted, there's this song by T-Bone Burnett who produced the soundtrack to Oh Brother, Where Art Thou and other stuff, and he's and some Elton John, and I forgot again, Leon Russell did an album, and T-Bone Burnett produced it. But his own music, and there's a song called Primitives, and the chorus is, primitives dress in feathers and masks to scare away the enemies. Their enemies. The frightening thing is not dying. The frightening thing is not living. Sync is great. Good to hear. Thanks, Albert. Science the Optimist, fine. Fine. I don't remember. I know I ranted at you about why you're a guy, but you know I love you. Regina said, okay, I asked Regina because she just had an uncle die, Uncle Bucky, who was this well-known and well-respected jazz musician. She's in New Jersey. He's probably somewhere right around there, New Jersey, New York. And the New York Times had a little piece on him and a great picture, and he plays a 7-string guitar, and she told me that they call him the fifth Beatle because he played with Paul McCartney once. She says he recorded an entire album with Paul McCartney. The album was named Kisses on the Bottom, and it is an album of jazz standards. Released in 2012, it won a Grammy Award. Bucky at that time did not know who McCartney was. Bucky just died at the age of 94. Wait a minute, though. So in the 60s, he should have totally been in the Beatles. And in the 70s, 20, 50 years ago, he was 40. He didn't know the Beatles? That the Beatles weren't on his radar? There weren't even this many bands. Hey, but is that a Paul McCartney album? Or whose album is it? Is that McCartney did an album of standards called Kisses on the Bottom? Anyway, great. NetReamer says audio is ahead. Damn you, NetReamer. Some say perfect, some say not 100%. So this is all very weird. You know, on replay, the sync problems are the worst if you're watching on Facebook and on an iPhone. That's what I have found. And in fact, if anyone is out there watching on Facebook, I implore you to come on over to all this chat that I'm reading. You might be wondering why nobody's watching this. There's no comments. Who is he talking to? This is bullshit. This guy is either schizophrenic or a bullshitter. But the truth is, all the cool kids are watching over on my mirror image YouTube channel, like the mirror image Star Trek episode with Spock with a mustache and evil Spock and evil Kirk. Anyway, I would prefer if you come over to the dark side, youtube.com/Science Comedian. That's my YouTube channel. Come over. I'm trying to build up my YouTube channel. So unless you just want to hang out on Periscope or hang out on Facebook, that's your prerogative. But all this cool, come on over. Come, and I ask you, if you are watching, please give a like to this video. And especially on YouTube. And please subscribe to my channel if you want. And definitely don't click the little bell for notifications, because then you would find out maybe when I'm going live. So, all right, we're going to have to check in. Let's take a quick look over there and see if anyone was watching over there. Talk amongst yourselves for just a moment. Jeez. I mean, could I talk any more than I already have? Oh, Regina, you've been over there. Not in sync. And I know you're not on an iPhone, though. But that is so cool. It is a Paul McCartney album. Bill Pack, I saw you over on Facebook. Come to YouTube. Science Comedian. You and your lighting look great. Thank you, Denise. So do your lighting looks fantastic. You know what? Here's an old funny that sometimes I gave this out on stage as, you could take this home, you could use this anytime, and I guarantee you, like, well, use your best judgment. But it's definitely funny, but it may not be appropriate for all situations. But let's say you're with a partner. Let's say you're in bed even. And you don't have to be. Hey, you could, wherever you are, I'm not judging. All I'm saying is that The scenario I imagine is you're in bed with someone and the lights are on, but then you click the lights off, you wait a beat and you go, "You're beautiful in this light." It could be a first date if you have really good comedic timing, but most likely it's a partner or someone you have a great rapport with. Be careful. Don't come back to me like you paid money for this comedy course and I led you wrong, or how to meet women, or how to win the game, or whatever. I'm just saying that I can pull this off. I don't know if you can, but with the right comedic timing and knowing your audience, it's always important to know your audience. It's possible that you could say that and get a good laugh and get laid. It's a win-win. I'm talking to all you boys and girls. Let's go to the comments. Rich says 82%. All right, Rich. What was that? 82% you'd like to live to 1,000 years? I don't know what you're referring to. Regina, it was out of sync for me last night for at least half of it. Yeah, that's very frustrating. I think that I may end up just going to YouTube and not messing with that. I'm going to try, and I'm trying a different software package. I keep saying that, but as soon as I get to experiment with it. Kimberly says, message Kendall with Mile Higher podcast. They'll probably answer. What is that in response to, Kimberly? Albert says, Brian does look good. He must have exfoliated. As a matter of fact, Albert, although I didn't shower today. Back off, man. You're not my real dad. Audience. I was going to say audience, but you are. We're stuck with each other. I was thinking I need to buy a loofah. I think Mitch Hedberg, who I get asked about a lot, was into loofahs. I never had one, but I think I need one because sometimes I do sort of exfoliate manually. But a loofah is like just designed for that. Science the Optimist, thanks for the feedback. I know sarcasm when I hear it and when it's coming out of you. Bill says, I'm fascinated by the phenomenon of reaction videos. I've watched a few. They are fascinating. There are these, I've seen somewhere, sometimes where they're seeing songs where you go, wow, you have never heard this? Interesting. And then they react to it. It's an odd, just what a strange genre, and yet, and I would almost say, what a stupid idea, but then I've watched some and got sucked in. Because first of all, maybe I like the music already, and then I want to see this person react to it. So it's all about being a good reactor. So I thought of do you think this would be funny? My idea is that I should take some of those reaction videos and I should use the green screen and I should react to them. I should react to the reaction videos. And then, of course, I should take one of my reactions to their reaction videos and react to that and, do a little infinity mirror thing. I'm great at sound effects, you must admit. Rich Moore is still here. You've been changed already. I have been changed already. Hey, Rich. Okay, it's time for this segment. Of course, a graphic should come up and a musical cue. But Rich, silver linings. We're living under this dark cloud of the virus, but surely there are some silver linings. So I've already named several silver linings. You said I was already changed already. Rich Moore and everybody else, even if you've answered before, see if you can dig deep and give me a new one. Regina, what's a silver lining? What's something I've said that, just this, I was needing to do a lot more video production and live streaming and everything, and this was the impetus that kicked my butt that made it happen. It was the crystal around which this stuff, it was the little seed around which this stuff crystallized. But I've said that before. I'll think of a new one. like several people have said, they've said, you can't use this one because I'm going to use it before you do. Because a lot of people say they've spent a lot of us have caught up with old friends that we haven't talked to in a long time, checked in with, family members. The other day was my uncle's birthday. So it was both. It was calling him on his birthday and also catching up and discussing this, because I'm in North Carolina, he's in California. So Rich and everybody, let me have some silver linings and let's catch up on the comments because I'm way behind. Rich, I could not be immortal by myself. I could not watch my generations die. Yeah, but then there would be a new generation and new things. You would see the flow of time and the flow, you would see societies evolve, rise and fall, cultures, emerge and merge and emerge. I like that. Some would merge and others would emerge. I don't know. That could be pretty interesting. Come on. It's not all bad. Ladies and gentlemen, the moon. The circuit is now complete. When we met before, I was but the streamer. Now I am I lost that one. That was a dumb choice. We'll fix that in post. Rich, if you could live forever, you would not feel the need to live as strongly. I don't know. People say that, but I don't know. I'm not convinced that I only appreciate life because it's brief or because it ends. I'm not convinced of that. There's other sides to me too, but I'm a big lover and appreciator of so many big and little things that I would love more. It makes me sad that I know for a fact at this point in my life that there are a lot of movies I'm never going to see that I'd kind of like to see. There are a lot of books that I'm never going to read that I would like to read because clearly, there will be some that I do. Mostly it'll be a lot of websites and bullshit comments on Twitter and Facebook that I consume. But theoretically, I will consume some. But there's no way. This is the numbers. These are bad numbers. And I don't like these numbers. Got to change these numbers. Just reality is that I'm not going to get to them all, clearly. I don't even have a good pace going right now. But even at ideal pace, I'm not going to be able to consume all the stuff I want to consume or produce all the stuff that I want to produce. That's the sadder part. Well, they're both sad. But that's kind of sad to me because I haven't always been as productive as I would like to be in my life. And now I realize, I have a lot of ideas, and I'm going to have to just pick one or two and run with them. And then once you get past those, move on to the next. But I'm not going to do them all. So I don't know. And I think Albert's with me. Immortality is a goal of mine. I want to watch the heat death of the universe. I will watch and eat cake, chocolate cake. Yeah. Oh my God, Albert, our old friend, these are people who died. They were all my friends and they died. Chuck and I remember more than once laying in the grass in my yard, in my house, on Schofield in Houston, in Meyerland, land of the Jews. I remember laying on the grass with Chuck, looking up at the stars, and we talked about, it was full of wonder, but also tinged with a little sadness because we were big science fiction fans, and especially Isaac Asimov and Arthur C. Clarke and Larry Niven was probably our favorite. And we were big science fans and science fiction fans, and we laid under the stars philosophizing as only junior high and high school kids can, and dreaming of these futures. And the thing that always got me is that some of the stuff we read about, I believe some of this will happen, but I'm probably not going to live to see it. And it's some amazing stuff. Science fiction. I think that people that don't get science fiction, they don't get it. They don't like it. It's because they don't quite get it. It's like the best science, especially if you think science fiction is just rocket ships and weird aliens, and that isn't it. The best science fiction has some of that. Of course, we want that. But the best science fiction is so imaginative and speculative, and it extrapolates. And sometimes it's not, this is a thing that sometimes people think you predicted this in your... Science fiction is not about predicting. It's just imagining other worlds, other ways of being, other kinds of universes, other kinds of creatures with different, maybe weirdly different motivations, or it's just so imaginative and stimulative to the young mind, or even the older mind. Yeah, I think that people that don't like science fiction, it's not just spaceships and trips to Mars and aliens and stuff. It's thoughtful and optimistic. Some of it's a little pessimistic, but I think some of the stuff I'm talking about, it's just so imaginative. And also, I always connected it to Queen, the music of Queen. I loved science fiction. I loved Queen. Queen's music is not normal music. But it was such a stimulant to my young mind. I just think it was so imaginative, and wow, you're like wrapping your mind around Queen music is like wrapping your mind around science fiction. In the case of Brian May's song 39 on A Night at the Opera, same album as both Bohemian Rhapsody and You're My Best Friend. 39 is, of course, a relativistic space journey folk song, as one might write. And so that actually is literally a science fiction song and one of their best. But the other stuff, it's not that it's anything. Bohemian Rhapsody has nothing to do with science fiction, but it's just so, it expands your mind. Queen and science fiction. There can be only one. Those are two. But they become one. They merge, and then something new emerges. Let's go to the comments. Albert, I'm with you. I want to see comets go by really close. I want to see near-Earth asteroids, but near, I said, not whoa, just near going by. I want to see, Albert, the date that I think would be the coolest date, and you're on a ship, you take a quick little journey, and then you have dinner in orbit around Saturn. Like, what can beat that in our solar system? Like, imagine you, like, they don't know what's coming, and then you open the shutters, the curtains, because there's probably curtains on your spaceship, because it's like the modern Stone Age family. It's like a little bit of the old and the new. But 891 dropped frames, that can't be good. And a date in orbit around Saturn, how awesome would that be? And get her back before midnight because of pumpkins or something. Anyway, I want to see space travel. I do want to see, like, wouldn't you love to see that? Like, if I could go to Mars right now, that tough question, like, it depends what the experience is. I mean, it would be, like, unbelievable to do, but I also, it's like, is it a one-way trip and die on Mars? I don't know if I'm ready to give this up, but what if your life was that long? You could do all these things, and I want to see interstellar travel, and I want to see supernovas from a distance, and black holes, and then maybe, in the end, why not close with the heat death of the universe? Brought to you by String Cheese. Not only the sponsor of our show, but the sponsor of this particular universe. String Cheese. You like string theory? You love cheese? String Cheese. Let's go to the comments. James agrees with Rich, not alone or with only enemies. Well, okay, but yeah, I don't want to live with only enemies, and I don't want to be alone. But I am. But yeah, you know, that would give me a little more time to get my shit done and maybe find a mate. If you could live forever, you would not feel the need to live as strongly. Oh yeah, Rich, that's what kicked this off. I'm not sure about that. I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know if there's 100%. Maybe some people would have a problem with that, but I don't know. And we could just think of all the stuff you could fill your mind with. All the music and art and science and the people and the history and the languages and just, I don't know, just, maybe it doesn't have to be immortal, but 1,000 years, is that asking for too much? Sciencey Optimist said a long time ago, like 20 minutes ago, I got to catch up. What's the smartest thing you ever heard this week? I have only heard dumb things this week. Nice. Bucky, how did you ever see the New Amsterdam? Oh no, Netreamer, I don't know what that is. A 2008 TV series, New Amsterdam. And he says he loved their depiction of immortality. And that was a Paul McCartney album before. Predict the future in milliseconds. Go. I predict that Brian will run long. It's starting to look that way, Albert. I don't want to scare you, but it's starting to look that way. Quarantining parts of an open country, says Netreamer, is like having a swimming pool with a peeing section. Hold on. Quarantining parts of an open country is like, so these different, there's just no leadership. So depressing. Unbelievable. And all these different governors that are just playing it down. And you're right. So we could defeat this thing. We could stop it from finding new hosts if we could really hunker down. It's not quarantine. Stop thinking of it as a quarantine. That sounds so horrible and horrific and sterile and quarantine and severe. No, just hunker down. You're going to just hunker down for a while. And I don't feel like seeing no one or nobody. I'm hunkering down. Just get back to me in a couple weeks. It's not a quarantine. Just hunker down. Don't touch anything. Don't breathe. Don't even look at me. Bill said he went over there. Yeah, wait, you're saying swimming pools don't have peeing sections? Hi, Darlene. Oh, Darlene was there too. Regina, Darlene. People are shut in with these people you're wanting them to piss. People are shut in with these people you're wanting them to piss off. We had 100 messages 17 minutes ago. It's mostly in sync. That's pissing me off. That's not good enough. The thing is, it's either in sync or it isn't. Damn it. 1,025 dropped frames. So I would love to know what causes this piece of software to drop frames when I rebooted the computer. I've done other nights when it just didn't. And there's nothing different that I can identify. I'm trying the other software package. Pumice stone is like sandpaper. I welcome feedback on your work. I like your work. Sciencey Optimist, you can find him on your various platforms. Aaron Freeman, Sciencey Optimist. I like to make up statistics. Like now it's 95% in sync. Thanks, Rich. Bill says I'm the Jewish Michael Winslow. Yeah, my sound effects are right up there, aren't they? Your sync clap in the infinity mirror would be awesome. We've all learned a lot more about epidemiology. All right, silver linings. I asked for them a year ago. We have all learned a lot more about epidemiology. Exactly. Rich says we will have scratched the surface of our true humanity, a group humility that will make us kindred by survival. I'm with you partially. Many people, but not all, will have a profound experience from this. I'm just afraid some people won't. Regina, silver lining. I'm homeschooling my son. I'm teaching him that Pluto is a planet. Yeah, it's very contentious, but you're in agreement with Alan Stern, who is head of the New Horizons mission that passed Pluto and then went on to another Kuiper Belt object and is headed to yet another one. Lori Bucksbaum, Generation C. Lori, are you still out there? It took me a long time to get to the comments. I was riffing. Jesus, I thought that's what you wanted me to do. Do you want me to just read the comments, or do you want me to read some Richard Brodigan? Last night I cried. I thought you might want a little laughter tonight. Hasn't there been enough clouds? Let's get to the silver linings. If you wanted to sleep for 100 years, what would it matter if you had millions to go? That's deep, Kimberly. If you could live forever, NetReamer says, you still wouldn't be able to consume all the media you want to. There's always more good stuff being made. You're right. There's more than, at this point, there's probably more than an hour of stuff being made every hour. But there's also a lot of crap. You got to get selective. But all I'm saying is that there's so many, you could consume more, so much more. Jim Carroll, isn't that what I said? Or did you say that before I said it? Was that long ago? All these people have died. They were all my friends, and they died. There's a Brian in that song. I think he got cut in the jugular vein, or I don't remember, but I love that song. And Jim Carroll, he died. All these people have died. They're all my friends, and I died too. Roddenberry, he was so good. Kimberly, oh yeah, and my friend Chuck that I mentioned, he was a huge Trekkie. I think he might have preferred Trekker. That's how serious a Trekkie he was. Trekker, not Trekkie. That's how serious. He was a big, we were both sci-fi fans, and he was a serious Star Trek fan. And of course I love it. Rich Moore says science fiction can be fake. Fake it till you make it happen. Mark, it was all ruined with the Tribbles. That's a great episode. Isn't The Trouble with Tribbles, it's written by a great science fiction writer, that Larry Niven, not Jerry Pournelle. Oh, but a great science fiction. He wrote David Gerrold. He wrote The Trouble with Tribbles. I don't know if it's the only episode he wrote, but David Gerrold, Gerrold, he also wrote a book that was like about Star Trek, the show, about the production of it and everything. I forget what that was called, but David Gerrold, he co-wrote at least one book with Larry Niven. The name escapes me. But David Gerrold wrote a couple very weird, one really weird. He wrote 2 science fiction novels that I loved. One is called When Harley Was One. I wonder how it stands up, because it's about an AI. It's about a computer becoming smart, or a robot. When Harley Was One. And that would be interesting to see how that stands up. But he wrote this other one, The Man Who Folded Himself. And it's a time travel book that just has every time travel device in it. And it's just great. And more that I'd never seen in any other time travel story. And David Gerrold, The Man Who Folded Himself. That's our book recommendation for today. And if I told you if I was doing that series, then I should have a science book that has to do with time. And that would be a book I haven't read and I don't know the title of, but Sean Carroll is a physicist today and science writer, and he has a couple books out, and he writes about time. So I don't have much to say about it because I haven't read it, but he's a very cool guy, and he's married to a really cool science writer as well. Jennifer Willett, and they're a great team, a scientist. She has a pretty good science education, and she's a science writer, very, very successful, and he's got a couple books out and is a physicist. So The Trouble with Tribbles. No, David Gerrold wrote that episode. Albert, I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire. I'm going to put in the part that you left out. Attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion. I watched C-beams glitter in the dark near the Tannhauser Gate. All those moments will be lost in time, like tears in rain. Time to die. Except somewhere in there, there's a little, he does it, Rutger Hauer. All these people have died, Rutger Hauer, and he died. Roy Batty. Blade Runner Roy, yes. I would say that's one of my two favorite movies, Blade Runner and Annie Hall. Two very different films that are right up there at the top. Darla says Queen was the first thing I ever heard on CD. Really? Which was it, specifically? I wish I remembered, as important as they are to me, I don't remember how I got turned on to Queen. I don't remember the beginning. I remember the first time I heard Another One Bites the Dust, which was way later. And I remember the first time I heard, just a little before that, Crazy Little Thing Called Love. But I was into them for several years before that. But I don't remember, like, was it Bohemian Rhapsody? Was it Killer Queen? Just don't remember. Eric Deacon, dude, are you still out there? That was 2239. That was a long time ago. A long, long time ago. I can still remember how the music used to make me cry. Netreamer, you say sci-fi, but about half of what you describe is fantasy. What you talking about? Netreamer, say that to my face, man. What was I talking about? Time travel is probably fantasy, but traveling in space is not necessarily fantasy. You can't even imagine the technology that could come along in 1,000 years. Think about, could the Wright brothers have predicted this? Or big old jet airliners? I don't think so. You heard. Pessimistic, yes, Kimberly says, I keep seeing the U.S. split into districts like Hunger Games. Yeah, the not-so-United States. Blade Runner. What's up, Ryan? Eric Deacon, are you still out there? You know what? I was talking about this guy, Eric Deacon, yesterday when I said, because of Facebook, I found out an old friend of mine and I had the same birthday. This is the guy I was talking about. He's an old Austin friend of mine. Friends with Tom Hester, and that's exactly who I was thinking of. He has the same birthday as me, as well as my neighbor across the street. The Tribbles, Hunger Games. You can't propose on the Saturn date. The nicest ring would not be impressive there. Albert! Ding, ding, ding. We need a sound effect for puns, because there will be puns. Could be the name of this show. Kimberly, I like sci-fi best, but fantasy is a hard second. I don't do that much. Kimberly says I don't eat the string cheese right. What you talking about, Willis? What are you talking about, Kimberly? I haven't had any. And what are you saying that I don't eat it right? You better explain. You got a lot of explaining to do. Netreamer, if you could live long enough to get to fly to Mars, you would just be like everyone else and complain about middle seats and bad food on the trip. Yeah. No, but I have that long view, having lived already hundreds of years by then. I will have a greater context for it, and I'll slap those people around so they don't ruin your trip, David. The sync. God damn it. You need a better way to stay current with the comments so you aren't so far behind. Well, the problem is I want you to talk a lot, and when you do talk, but sometimes I want to just riff and not be reading the comments. There's no way to keep up with them because you're commenting in real time. You don't want me to just read the comments. I know that. I know. I should have, though, a heads up. What do you call that? I know. I should have it projected right here in front of me and going by. But I think I'm not mistaken that you do want me to do something besides just read the comments. Rich Moore's in Arkansas. Kimberly, restart your yoga. So you might be gone soon. Yeah, you might be. Got a crush on Bill Gates. I did see, did you watch Bill Gates' interview with Trevor Noah? sciencey optimist. It's not really that optimistic. He has a cool vibe and all, but he says some stuff that it's a little darker than a lot of stuff you're hearing. I don't have a crush on him, but he did say some interesting things. What will convince you this is over? Oh, I'm not the expert on this. I'm going to always defer. Unlike some governors and presidents in this world, I'm going to defer to the experts. I don't know the answer to that. Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, Aaron, honestly. And because of that, when I don't know the answer to something, I trust the experts in the exact field that we're talking about. The scientists, the medical experts, the infectious disease specialists. That's where I'm gonna trust those people. How much more logical could you be? Well, Darla, I'm obsessed with the dropped frames because I don't think they're supposed to happen at all. And am I out of sync? This is bullshit if it's out of sync. I can't be doing this. Fuck it. Tomorrow, I don't even have any time to look at it, but I'm going to try something else. Going to have a Zoom Seder. No plans right now, Aaron, but I don't know. Netreamer, my view of productivity is immortality. My view of productivity in immortality is a bit like now. I have weeks stuck at home with books, movies, a few things to get done, and so far I'm seeing little, reading less, getting very little done. Truth. We should drink every time he says dropped frame. Dom says probably 5G radiation that's interfering with my sync. It's the 5G. It created the virus. It's causing the virus. It gives you cancer. And it's interfering with the sync. Drop frames are usually a network issue. No, David, though. This is my software, the video mixing program that takes this signal and then sends it out to the internet, as you call it. So this is, like Final Cut Pro is an editing program. It can drop frames sometimes. But the thing is, I'm not even taxing. 25% of my CPU is being taxed, and I don't really have other. Oh, you know what? Hey, David and Albert, the main thing I have running is one tab in Chrome, and it's this Restream chat. What do you make of that? But the thing is, I have 16 gigs of RAM, 8.43 are free. There's extra RAM available that's free. I know that. It doesn't make sense. This isn't taxing the CPU much, and the only other program running is Chrome. Now, maybe there are some weird processes running in the background that I should figure out how to turn off, but I don't understand. But I'm going to try a different pack. Did I mention that I'm going to try a different software package? I don't know if I've brought that up before, but I just want to make that clear. Some people are too stupid to know what a profound experience really is. Yeah. 5G, wonder how many more kids are being taught creationism now that they're homeschooled. Thanks, NetReamer. That's a positive thing to think about. Zoom Seder will be a one is too many. 400 hours of video are uploaded to YouTube every 60 seconds, according to the Sciencey Optimist. David Gerald, Albert, and the animated, remember or hear for the first time that there was a Star Trek animated series, and Larry Niven wrote an episode or two. One was based on one of his short stories, and that's what you're talking about, the animated Slaver Weapon episode. I think that one was Larry Niven, but it was at least based on his story. But David Gerald, yeah, sure. William Pack says, my friend David Alexander, the late David, wrote Gene Roddenberry's biography. He hasn't gotten it published yet, but he wrote it. I kid. His War with the Couture series is the best alien invasion writing I found, Albert. What about, remember, it's been so long since I've read it, but one of the best alien invasions, I don't remember it at all, but at the time, The Moat in God's Eye by Larry Niven. Is that a co-written? Is that Larry Niven and Jerry Pournelle both? The Moat in God's Eye. That was a great alien invasion story. So it goes, which version of Blade Runner is your favorite? You know, all I can tell you, I don't know. They're so subtly different. I mean, a couple of things are significant, but since the first version I heard had the voiceover, I hear the voiceover. It's interesting when you don't hear it. One of the most interesting things, when you don't hear the voiceover, there's a part where you hear this like metallic blimp-like thing goes over, and it's got advertisements on it, and it says, "A new world awaits you in the off-world colonies. A chance to begin again in a golden land of opportunity and adventure." And then in that original version, he starts talking and you don't hear the rest of it. But there's more to hear in the director's cut, when there's no narration, you hear more of that ad. There's just sound and there's just silence there. And you hear more of that ad, which I don't remember, but then there's a part at the end that goes, "So come on, America, let's get our people up there." And there's something about how you'll be given a replicant they want people off the earth. You don't really, this isn't explicit. You have to pick up on it or have read the novel, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick. Then you would know it is a post-Holocaust world. There was a nuclear war. Most things died. The reason there's this weird thing with artificial animals is because most animals died. This is all very explicit in the book, which is very different. The movie is like one little, like this core idea of there's replicants and I have to kill them. That's taken from the book and made into a movie. And then there's a lot of stuff added and the poetry of a lot of the language. But there is so much more. It's a small book, but there's so much more in it. And in fact, now you got me going. I got to tell you the first sentence of Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. And I would be really surprised if it's not on this shelf in front of me. I'll be very surprised. I'm starting to be surprised. Did I mention I'm surprised? Oh, man. I think... All right. All my Philip K. Dick books are upstairs. I never added them to this shelf. But the first sentence of Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep might be this. A merry little surge of electricity piped by automatic alarm from the mood organ beside his bed awakened Rick Deckard. I believe that's the first sentence of Do Android Dream of Electric Sheep and there is so much. There's a weird religion in it, and it has to do with empathy, and that informs something in the movie about how replicants don't have. I think that the core of that religion is that we have these replicants. They're not called replicants. They're called androids or Andes in the book. And they can be indistinguishable from humans, but they don't have empathy. So a religion arises out of that very core idea, because when you're living in this weird post-Holocaust world, most people have emigrated to the colony planets, and you're only there because you're unhealthy or old, or there's a reason why you haven't been allowed to emigrate maybe, and you're living this shitty life in this world where people have these umbrellas and lead cod pieces because radioactive ash falls, and it's a really miserable life. And this is like background to the movie Blade Runner, but this religion I think emerges around the idea because empathy is uniquely human. These things, these Andes, might be almost indistinguishable from us, but you know what? They don't have empathy. And that distinguishes us. And I think that that's the core of this odd religion. And there's just other weird stuff. It's a small book, and yet it's filled with interesting stuff. And then the movie, the only thing in the movie, the core idea of that he has to kill these androids, replicants, The only other thing is the Voight-Kampff test. This test that Harrison Ford, the Blade Runner, does to these androids, to the replicants, to determine there are all these sentences that are designed to provoke an emotional response, to see if they even have an emotional response. Autonomic, non-voluntary, involuntary. Those questions are all word for word pretty much out of the book. That's the only thing that like is that exact, and everything else is a little different. But it's one of those weird, rare instances where I love the book and I love the movie, and they're very different from each other. Blade Runner, directed by Ridley Scott, and with a script by David Webb Peoples and Hampton Fancher. And then the book Do Android Dreams of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick. Let's go to the comments. Classic Queen. Oh, Regina loved Mitch Hedberg. I'm sad he's gone. I watched his stand-up in the 90s and early 2000s. He was a comedic genius. He was an old friend of mine. Okay. I was 12 when I first heard Bohemian Rhapsody. Albert, you remember that? My buddy and I thought it was weird, but we loved it. Netreamer, space travel is sci-fi, aliens are fantasy. Apocalyptic future is sci-fi, parallel universe is fantasy. Discuss. Come on. Aliens are fantasy? You know how many stars and how many planets are out there? There's probably life out in the universe, and we might call it alien, but come on. There is some life, and there's no way we're the most advanced life form in the universe. I can't believe that. Now, as far as parallel universes, David, don't you know this? There are physicists that take this very seriously, that think that there are other universes. There's interpretations of physics and quantum physics that make some people, like that guy I mentioned, Sean Carroll, I believe, thinks that there are, but there's different definitions of what parallel universes mean, and multiverse and multi-worlds interpretation of quantum physics. So there's a lot to discuss there, but the weird thing is, to some people it sounds like pure fantasy, but some physicists take it very seriously. They think that it's implied by some aspects of the math. And yeah, I think one of the ideas, I'll have to ask someone, is that there are some constants in our universe. Some are explainable in that they emerge, they're predicted from the equations governing the behavior of the universe as we've come to know them. There are some constants that are predictable and others that aren't, and they're very weird, and they want them to be. They want to, like, why is this ratio what it is, or why is this the speed of light what it is? There's certain constants of the universe, not those specifically, but there's certain constants of the universe that are hard to explain why they're that way. And this is very much a layperson's interpretation, but one of the explanations is that it's absurd that all of these things, that the universe is exactly like this, and the most logical explanation by this way of thinking is that there are infinite universes, therefore, of course, there's one where these are the parameters. And this isn't fantasy. This is physicists and mathematicians discussing it. And just the fact that they're discussing it makes it science, not fantasy. Okay, I have discussed, when you say discuss, it's like I have to discuss it by myself and then check the comments. Let's try to catch up. Rich likes turtles. You have to pull the strings. Kimberly says, pull the strings off down the whole length of the cheese. Yeah, but with your teeth, not your fingers, right? Like an animal, you would pull them, like my friend Sarah would pull them off with her fingers. No, you do that with your teeth, though. And you pull them off as far as you can, but sometimes you fail. And that's the structural integrity of the string cheese. That's not my fault, lady. Keeping up with the comments is like having to forever to watch everything you wanted to. Where would the world be without Gates and his mission? Science-y optimist is comforted by knowledgeable people. They give me hope. Albert mastered the white boy shuffle, could dance to anything. Very out of sync. Damn it! What do you do all day? Obviously, I'm not preparing for this, so that strike that off the list of possible things. I've been spending a lot of time video editing, and I've talked to friends, and I do during the day. Maybe you want to wait until I've had a little more wine. After all, we're only an hour and 35 into the stream. 1,713 dropped frames. Not that you asked. NetReamer, I was unfortunately exposed to a Trumpster today complaining that the experts have changed their guidance, as if they're not allowed to learn more about the virus. That's one of the horrible misunderstandings about science. It's like they're so stuck on people that haven't changed their story since the dawn of time. And it's like, nope, we said that this is the word and this is how it goes and that's all. It's like, no, science, expanding knowledge, learning, especially a new thing like this. And it's like, yeah, they changed their guidance. This one is a complicated one because there's some suspicion about why they told us not to wear masks in the first place. But changing the guidance, Jesus Christ. Denise, you missed a lot. Bill, you're just going to do YouTube tomorrow. SETI at home is causing it. Hard drive or SSD? NetReamer, you're going to ask me? You the geeky guy? I don't have any SSDs. I haven't gotten that modern. And one thing about it is I do video stuff and I need larger storage. So you tell me, what do you think? Because I've never even used SSDs. I wonder if they're just screaming fast. I don't know what else that would help in my life. But Albert, what do you say? I've only had hard drives. Science the Optimist. Did SpaceX have a failure? I'm totally unfamiliar with SpaceX having a latest failure. Bill loves noir and the voiceover works for me, but I'm good without it also. Yeah, I kind of like it, but then it's neat without it. It's very hard to say. I just like it all. And the book. Good night, Regina. You were probably long gone. So probably is science now? What do you mean? What's that about? I don't know what you mean by that. But yeah, probability is science. Quantum physics is all probability. Things are not the way we used to think. And yeah, probability sounds like science to me, NetReamer, if that is your real name. Right now, COVID-19 is most likely based on best observations. Science requires more words. Bill, that's cool. Oh, I'm almost caught up. No more scrolling. That's cool about your friend writing. I had to leave my keyboard for a minute and only listened through my headphones. Don't mind my delayed responses. Science the Optimist. Isn't many worlds one of the Copenhagen interpretations of quantum theory? Yeah. I'm not good on the details on this one. I know some basic concepts, so I don't want to say any more than I already said. NetReamer, just the other day I heard Neil deGrasse Tyson saying again that science is about the process, not just the answers. I say that. So maybe you can say something is sci-fi because it is fiction based on hypotheses. Sure. I say that a lot. I have a little, not a rant. What's a rant if it's positive? I have a little thing that I've closed some shows with or talks with about celebrating science. Especially I like to do it at science festivals or whenever science is being celebrated because we don't celebrate science enough. And I talk about how it is not about a bunch of answers in dusty books. It's about the questions. Scientists love the questions. They're not know-it-alls and lording it over you. Some people have a misconception about what science is, and it's about the questions. As soon as they get answers, they move on to the next question. And it is a process. And I say it's like a relay race, and that every generation carries the baton as far as they can. Then they hand it off to the next generation. They carry it as far as they can. And this is happening simultaneously in myriad directions. And there's more. That's just part of it. I think you said that as I wrote it, NetReamer. Okay, yeah. Great minds. And other minds as well. Think alike. Copenhagen is widely accepted. I find it tough to believe. Yeah, I know. I talked to at that Lindau Nobel laureate meeting. George Smoot is a Nobel Prize winning physicist, and as far as him thinking that, because there's this one part of this is this idea like at every decision point, it splits, and there's a universe where you said yes, and there's a universe where you said no, or where this happened or that happened. And Smoot was like, his thing was like, that just doesn't seem very efficient. It seemed like he just couldn't go there either. He didn't think that that's reality. Oh, Kimberly, no. You don't use your fingers to pull the string cheese. You use your 2 front teeth. Now, that's a fact. That's not even opinion. That is a fact. And now we have to hear from our sponsor in a new ASMR live streaming video experience. Oops. Well, it comes out easily if you do it that way. You don't pick at it with your dirty, virus-laden fingernails, Kimberly. You eat it with your buck teeth. Pull it all the way down. String theory. That's my string theory. Netreamer, the issue was, how can we trust the scientists in the future if their guidance has other influences? Great, maybe we just tell everybody everything and let them each decide what would be best, sure. Daniel Whiteson, oh my God, how long have you been there? I'm a little behind on the comments. Where are we? 23:15, 23:17. I think I've caught up. You're probably even still there. On quantum mechanics, Copenhagen interpretation and many worlds interpretation are not the same. Yeah, I knew that there's different things going on there, and I couldn't explain it. Copenhagen says the universe rolls a die and then collapses the wave function. Many worlds interpretation says that there is no die. All options are explored in many parallel branching universes. Well, Daniel, both are philosophy, untestable concepts. Well, Daniel, you're a physicist. Are you willing to say anything, what you think about this? What do you think about those interpretations? What do you think? What the hell is going on here, Daniel? What the hell is going on this planet and in this universe? And things got really weird over the past few years. But you have a lot of splaining to do, Daniel Whiteson, if that is your real name. You did just say they're both philosophy, but will you speak? I know a lot of times scientists, physicists especially, don't like to say, if something's unknown, they don't like to speculate. Do you like to speculate about these things? Do you have a feeling? Do you lean towards something? What do you think the universe is? What the hell is going on here, Daniel? Don't just sit there. He says, as a physicist, I think we have no idea. That's the name of his book that he co-authored with Jorge Cham. We have no idea what's going on. The reality is likely much more bonkers than we can imagine. Okay, but you can say that, but come on. Don't you lean certain ways? Don't you have some things that you think, like, even, this was very unscientific. The guy in the country whose science we're relying on the most, Anthony Fauci, he said, we don't know yet if this virus, if having this virus and surviving it confers immunity. We don't know yet. But he said that he would bet anything that it did, based on his knowledge of other viruses and stuff. But, I mean, that's a kind of unscientific statement, because this one may or may not, and he doesn't know for sure. But he said he was willing to say, and that's a positive, maybe he was trying to be optimistic, a sciencey optimist, if you will. But he said that. Daniel, are you willing to say anything? Many worlds seems like more nonsense to me than Copenhagen. So many worlds that there are just parallel branching universes. What does that even mean? Like every moment, every possible thing splitting, like that's an insane thing. But Daniel, what about that? Is there something instead of nothing question? Like, it's so bizarre that, what's going on here, Daniel? You're a physicist. You tuned in here. You're now responsible for explaining this to us. It's not my thing. It's you. What's going on? So that's more nonsense than the Copenhagen interpretation, which says that there are all these possibilities, but only one really happens. Something like that. And what about string theory? This is your live stream, man. I'm just in the comments. No, man. No, man. You're the physicist. James pointed out a little while ago that, are you not holding the string cheese with your dirty virus-laden fingers of the other hand? No, I'm not. Hands, unlike Kimberly, the dirty beast she is. I washed my hands. And I haven't had human contact much for so long, I don't even remember. That's not saying much. Daniel, no, Science the Optimist, I don't know is the scientist statement I know. Yeah, I don't know. I rely on I don't know a lot. I'm very happy to say I don't know a lot of stuff. But when scientists are like, they don't know, we don't have the evidence for it. But sometimes I'm like, okay, well, but what do you think? Why? Like, what the hell is this? Daniel, what is the universe? What is the universe? Do you have any kind of answer to that? We won't necessarily hold you to it. It can just be between us, which is you and me and, I don't know, some other people. Oh, man. Everything. The universe, says Daniel, is just you and your cheese. This is the whole universe? That's sad. I can already tell that parts of this cheese aren't as fresh as they used to be. Why do things change so much, Daniel? Why do things change? What if they didn't? That's a good physics question. It's a giant incubator. Or it's a giant gas chamber, killing chamber. We're born just to die. Daniel, earlier we were discussing, I did a lot of talking, but in this one, a lot of people commented, Daniel, would you want to live 1,000 years if you could? What's your take on that? Would you like to be immortal? Or would you like to live 1,000 years? And no, you don't get progressively older and shriveled. You get to be about what you got now, maybe a little younger if you want. But would you want to live 1,000 years? Would you have a meaningful life, or would that somehow render your life not meaningful if you didn't have a death? Second law of cheesodynamics. No way I'd want to live 1,000 years. I'm checking out at 60. 60? 60? Are you kidding me? I'm already almost there. That's ridiculous. How old are you, Daniel? He wins the best cheese slogan, according to Kimberly. Life, like hikes, should eventually end. I don't know. I don't know. But 60, you're lying about that because you have children and you're not ready. You don't want to be done and say, how old are you? 60. I'll tell you what, when you're my age, you're going to revise that number. Guaranteed. Well, depending on what happens with this virus and the next one. 44. You don't want to be... You're not done in 16 years. That's bullshit. You lie. We have a sciencey optimist and a lying physicist. I don't believe you. That's my reaction to your action. Equal and opposite. Hold me to it, cheese man. 60? That's absurd. You understand. I can see 60 from here. And I'm not, no way. And you're not going to be ready. You're not going to be ready. I'm going to, in 15 years, we'll check back with you and see if you're ready. Or in 17 years, I'll check in and see if you're gone. Why, Daniel? Why? Kimberly doesn't like it. That's very upsetting. What is your vision of the universe that you want to check out at sea? You can check out anytime you want, but you can never leave. Isn't that a law of nature? It's something. To me, it's like that's the Copenhagen interpretation of the Hotel California. Lying Physicist is my new band name. I'm sticking with Fecal Plume. You can, Lying Physicist. Oh yeah, I saw them open for Fecal Plume. Oh man, that was some night. Okay, Jesus Christ. But now, 2,456 dropped frames. It's 1.2%. I don't know what that means. It doesn't seem like that could actually be 1.2% of the frames, because they're like 30 frames a second. And we're almost 2 hours in. That makes no sense at all. Does it? We'll be back right after this quick math. 30 frames a second. 1,800 per minute. 108,000 per hour times 1 point, what's 5 divided by 6? What's 50 out of 60? What's that percentage? My math is breaking down. At least 1.6, maybe 1.7. 1.65, we'll say. 170, let's say it's been 178 frames, times 1.2 times 0.012. Oh. That is, we've dropped 1.2% of our frames for the whole. The math does check out. We've literally dropped. I've never seen numbers like this. These are bad numbers. I'm totally relating to Trump now. These are bad numbers. We got to get these numbers down. We got to get these numbers. We got to get these numbers down. Because this is bullshit. And really, tell me, did it adjust? Are we totally out of sync? Does it even look like these words? Is this a horribly dubbed Japanese, Godzilla movie? Am I in sync for anyone? I will come to your going away party and I'll try not to talk too much. You're getting a weird impression of me if this is... When we met, I didn't talk this much, right? I'm the only one in this goddamn room. Cut me some slack. You're not my real dad. The Don Henley interpretation, yes. You're out of sync currently. The audio's ahead of the video. The count of dropped frames seems correct. You're many seconds out of sync now. Oh, you hyperventilated. I've been cheated out of far too much, Brian. This is very upsetting. And I'll tell you what, NetReamer, I know you haven't been watching this as long, but I've had sync problems and then other nights just not. And everything is fine. It's using 24% of the CPU. I wonder if this chat is taxing something. But what's it called? Activity monitor? Let's see what that says. Because the numbers I'm saying about taxing my CPU, that's just this piece of software self-reporting. Yeah, like China or the Trump administration. But this concurs that OBS is taking up 21. Well, no, oh, it says percent of CPU 201. What do you make of that? Why would it say at the top of activity monitor it's 206%, but it says 25% is what it's self-reporting, and activity monitor is calling it 204. And then the next thing is Windows Server 21% and kernel task at 16, 17%. Then it drops to 8 and 4 and 1 and goes really low. But percentage CPU 216. Does that sound problematic? Should that say 216%? I know, NetReamer, you're a PC guy, but Albert, does that sound wrong? Is that the problem right there? I do have 4 cores. I've seen 1970s Kung Fu movies with better sync. Jesus. You have 4 cores. You have 8 CPUs, so the denominator is different. A report of 220. I'm telling you, do I need to... Hold on a sec. Watch this. Watch this. Let's see if this works. Image. Create new. Browse. I'm walking you through this, or I'm just needing to, where's that end up? Desktop. Date modified. 1132. Okay. All right. That's a screenshot I just took. I hope there's nothing personal in there. What do you make of this? It says OBS 211% CPU. But CPU, according to OBS right now, it's 17%. It's dropped to 17%. What? I don't know how to... What do you make of that? You guys? The sync... Now I'm back in... You're kidding me. That is... There's your sci-fi. And what you called fantasy before, that was bullshit, NetReamer. You call it sci-fi, and I'm showing it to you right now. In fact, I don't even think we need all that other stuff right there. What is that? You know, I don't know what any of this crap means. But that shouldn't say 200%, should it? Are we getting to the core of my problem? Is that what's happening here? Help. You saw that, right? Did that work? I pulled that up right over my face. Were you witnessing all that? Nice social security number and address. Just kidding. You're magically back in sync. Did I mention that I'm going to try a different software package entirely? And it only works with the Mac. This one, their attentions are split because they have a Mac version and a PC version. The piece of software that only works on the Mac, maybe that'll work better for me, but it's different. You saw the screenshot. Thank you. Well, what is that? The activity monitor. What the? So weird. So we're about 2 hours in. Are we good? Should we just wrap it up? Should we call it a night? Are we done? Look, it's 11:35 here. I know some of you on the West Coast, it's pretty darn early. 11, 10, 9, 8:35. What's going on over on Facebook? Maybe not much. Hard to say. And on YouTube, are you really still out there? Any requests? We're taking requests. Freebird! I mean, Can you order me? Sarah, you know, I've talked about our guy, Brian, many times. Where were you? We talked about 39 and so many other things. Where were you when I needed you? Questo, Piccolo Kaiju, QPK of Tennessee. You don't like the sound of that, do you? 100% is no big deal. You're saturating one core. You have 4. Is that how that works? But I mean, what? You mean it could go up to 800% or something? I don't know. And yet we've dropped 2,633 frames. And you know what? We have to pick up every single one of them before you go, you know? Leave it the way you found it. Take only pictures, leave only footprints. They got pissed at me when I did that at the Louvre. Da-da-da-da-da-da. I will order you a pizza, Questo Piccolo Kaiju, but it will have meat on it. What will you do then? That was cool. How toy. I don't know what you meant there, Kimberly. 9:35 here. Hey, how about we all watch something together in Netflix party? Well, maybe some other time. You mean instead of this bullshit? Is that what you're saying? I hear you. I hear you, Denise. This has gotten stale. Why don't we watch something interesting? I hear you, Denise. And I'm totally on board with it. You peeked around it. Yeah, I did. Request, do some shadow puppets. Where? How? I need to find... Oh, wait. Here's... I can make a shadow of the microphone fall on my face, but... Questo Piccolo, hey, how about a round of applause for our medical professionals and healthcare workers that are actually in this time zone at 11:38 p.m. are at work at a hospital. Come on. It's true. Her work schedule hasn't changed at all, is it? You work even more, Science the Optimist. How about ending with some science comedy? He is an optimist thinking that we were about to end. I haven't even finished my wine. The mistake you made there, my Science the Optimist friend, is that you took me at my words. You took me literally at my words as if my words meant anything. They're just words. Tell us about your favorite, most mind-blowing scientist you've ever met, Kimberly. I can actually sort of tell you something about that. Albert says, don't question me, funny man. Dom says, yeah, buddy, I'm checking out in a second, but I did want to mention that I was spinning a vinyl copy of News of the World and was digging Fight from the Inside. Cool track, Dom. That's written by the drummer and sung by the drummer, Roger Taylor, and that's a very groovy track. He also wrote that song... Sheer Heart Attack, which is an intense rocker, but Fight from the Inside is one of my favorite Roger Taylor tracks. And what a great groove. You know what I like? There's a lot, you could play someone a bunch of Queen songs and they would have no idea it's Queen, especially if take the ones that Freddie Mercury isn't singing, some Roger Taylor songs, some Brian May songs that he does his own vocals on, and you would hear these songs, and if I asked you who they were, you probably wouldn't say Queen. You would, Albert, and you would, Sarah, and you would, Regina, and some of you would. But you know what I'm saying. There are some songs that, and Fight from the Inside, who would know that that's a Queen song? But if you know, obviously it's a Queen song, because that's Roger Taylor. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm glad you like that. That's a very groovy song. It's got such a like rhythm and bass, like it's and then these great rhythm guitars, which Sarah, do you know, like maybe that's a question for Dr. Brian May, is that on some of the Roger Taylor songs, he does some of the guitars. I would love to know on that and more of that more of that jazz on the jazz album. I think Roger plays some of the guitars, and Brian probably plays some. I'd like to know because there's some cool guitar on Fight from the Inside. Way to go, Dom. Oh man, if you're still there, Dom, there's some other nice songs. There's a Brian May song called All Dead, All Dead. He wrote it. He plays piano. He sings. There's It's Late at the end of the album. It's Late. An amazing Brian May song. What else is on there? Oh, another Brian May song that he also sings, Sleeping on the Sidewalk. It's a bluesy, cool song. Sleeping on the Sidewalk. All right, do not give me a strike, Brian. You don't get a strike. All this talk about saturating cores and software packages and meat needs an NSFW rating. Yes, Sarah. That's the only reason you tuned in is because you thought there might be a lot of NSFW. No, it's not stale. Thank you, medical workers on Brian's stream. Yes, thank you, medical workers who are so hard at work that you're enjoying this stream with us. You know what? I'm just grateful that you're here instead of on Brian May's Instagram profile. What a rare moment this is. The show isn't about how it ends. It's a process. Exactly. Because it's not fantasy. This is science, NetReamer. It's the process. Thank you from Denise to the medical workers. In a parallel universe, says Albert, those medical professionals are laughing at the sick and injured. Screw those guys. That's the Spock with the mustache, right? And the evil Kirk. Denise, I was only offering an alternative if Brian all of a sudden decided to sadly end the stream. Oh yeah, but let's be realistic. It's not even midnight at the Oasis. Darlene, I have to turn the volume down during sheer heart attack because it freaks my cats out so bad. They run around their house and slam into the walls. Happens every time. Yeah, that is an intense song. You know, there's a great Roger Taylor, great line in there when he goes, hey, 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 it was the DNA. Hey, 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 that made me this way. Do you know just how I feel? Albert says best Queen song, Brighton Rock. Albert, I can't even pick a favorite Freddie Mercury, Brian May song. I'm not even sure I can pick a favorite Roger Taylor or John Deacon song. But I love Brighton Rock. Love it. But I can't do it. That's a Brian May song that Freddie sings. Sheer heart attack. Opening track. Darlene, we need video of that, of you and your cat. Questo Piccolo Kaiju says, Brian May was offline. I had to get my Brian fix elsewhere. But he's online now. Bye. Your cartoon. She's gone. Woo, where'd she go? You can find her at Brian May's Instagram page. I don't think I could pick a favorite. Yeah, I really can't. Sarah, I think you can. What, do you have some favorites? Do you have a favorite Queen song? I know it. Oh, is it the song we've been talking about? That's not your favorite song, is it? Like trying to pick a favorite Bowie or Costello. Yeah. I could sooner do it with them. I don't think I could pick a favorite Bowie song. But hey, let's take a 20-second break and listen to this cover of this Bowie song. We haven't heard it in a while. I haven't seen it in a while. Let's take a quick look at what it's like when Chris Hadfield, the Canadian commander of the space station and a fighter pilot and astronaut with several missions, and then Steve Vai, Rick Wakeman, Hans Zimmer Orchestra, Rick Wakeman on piano, but it's all about the Steve Vai in this clip from the Starmus dress rehearsal last summer.
Detach from the station and make us love be with you.
And we're back. But isn't that awesome? I just don't get tired of that. I turned the sound up so I could hear it. Yeah, I cannot pick a favorite. She disappeared in a puff of smoke. She did. Oh, someone asked me today my favorite Queen song, and I couldn't. I couldn't even narrow it down to 10. I can't. I can't even choose a favorite album. Albert, is Sheer Heart Attack your favorite? Because, like, sometimes I think Queen 2 is my favorite Queen album, but then sometimes A Night at the Opera. Hard to argue with, but then Sheer Heart Attack could be. But when I listen to the Jazz album, I really like it. News of the World, great album. But Queen 2, Sheer Heart Attack, Night at the Opera, and Day at the Races, those are amazing albums. My friend David Yaffe's favorite has always been A Day at the Races. David has always been pretty clear on his favorites. Like it's Elton John, and then Queen, and then Thin Lizzy. Definitely. And he has others, but those are the top 3. And his favorite Elton album is Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. I do have a favorite Elton John album, though, and it's Captain Fantastic and the Brown Door Cowboy, as you probably know by now. But Queen, I cannot narrow it down. When I'm listening to Queen 2, it's Queen 2. But if I'm listening to A Night at the Opera, and when I'm listening to Sheer Heart Attack, there are so many. And you know what? So 39 is one of my favorite songs. And on that same Night at the Opera, Good Company is one of my favorite. But Stone Cold Crazy. But Brighton Rock. But Great King Rat from the first album, and Keep Yourself Alive. Or maybe it's Tie Your Mother Down. Maybe it's Millionaire's Waltz. The Millionaire Waltz, for all you know. There are so many songs that when I'm listening to them, Dead on Time feels like my favorite song when I'm listening to it. So does Sleeping on the Sidewalk. Like, yeah, I can't do it. Don't make me. Hot Space. Well, that's not my. That's not my favorite album. Hot Space. My favorite SEJ song, Elton John song, is Tiny Dancer. Hey, here's an Elton John song that you might not know. It's a B-side of a 45. It was never on an album, except maybe later as an extra track on a CD, but it was never an album cut. It's Elton John, and the song is called Ego. It's so good. So good. Ego by Elton John. And so many others. For me, I love Tiny Dancer. You're right. But what about Mona Lisa's and Mad Hatters, Susan? What about Mona Lisa's and Mad Hatters? What about Funeral for a Friend and Love Lies Bleeding in My Hands? The roses in the window box have tilted to one side. Everything about this place was born to grow and die. Love lies bleeding in my hands. Bernie Taupin, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my God, Sarah. My favorite song on Hot Space, I don't think it's Dancer. Really? Do you count Under Pressure? Do you count Brian's song Las Palabras de Amor? Dancer, I didn't used to like, but I'll tell you what, it does have some raw, ripping guitar solo stuff that I like a lot. What else is on there? I mean, I kind of like the album. It's not my favorite, but I basically like almost all of it. Oh my God, Sarah, did you see that? I just watched a bit of a YouTube clip. It was an old interview when Hot Space came out with Roger Taylor, and the female host, the first thing she says is he's here, and it's something about his song Calling All Girls, which is the first song he wrote for the band. Calling All Girls. I don't know, what is that? They're like 9th or 10th album, when in fact he had written his first song on the first album and had at least one song and later two on every album before they got to that 9th or 10th album. Albert, Queen, The Cars, ZZ Top, Led Zeppelin. That's a good variety. Queen is so different from those. Mark, you primed me. Queen, The Cars. Questo Piccolo Kaiju says, I am not a fan of Las Palabras de Amor. You are banned! Or Under Pressure? Or Life is Real, which I gather puts me in a minority, but the worst is Body Language. You know, Body Language I'm a little torn on. If it was by anyone else, I'm sure I would hate it. If it was by anyone else, I almost certainly would hate it. Everything about it, the words, everything. But Freddie wins me over. There's parts of it that it's Freddie Mercury and he wins me over. There's things I don't like about it and they embarrass me and they make me feel bad. But I don't like when he says, you got the sweetest ass I've ever seen. I don't like that part. They got the cutest ass I've ever seen. Knock me down for a 6 anytime. But I do like when he does that part. You got red lips, snakes in your eyes, long legs, the great thighs. I could lose that line, but that melody right there, and then he says the ass line. But for a minute there, that melody there is really great. In the same way, I didn't at first like Radio Gaga. When it came out, I didn't like it, but it totally grew on me. And now I find and Roger Taylor wrote that song, and that chorus is very compelling, and especially when Freddie is singing it. It's a catchy melody. So, I don't know, and it's about music. Under Pressure begat Ice Ice Baby, 2 iconic songs. 1 iconic song. Did you ever, I think it was on VH1 or MTV years ago, Vanilla Ice said, he's like, it's totally different. Their song is bum 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 ba da dun dun, bum 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 ba da dum bump. Mine is bum 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 ba da dum bump bum 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 ba da dun dun bump. Totally different. He literally said that. Literally. He literally said that. Right to my face. Via the television. Mark says, Albert, Joe Jackson, Bowie, Costello. We were so lucky. Where's that music now? I saw each of those people in concert once. Joe Jackson, David Bowie on the Serious Moonlight Tour. When he was like taking his fame to a new level. And Elvis Costello I saw one time. Susan, I guess that's why they call it the blues. Your Song, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, Don't Go Breaking My Heart, Leave On, Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me, Someone Saved My Life Tonight. Yeah, I could keep going. Mark, are you a believer? Did I miss anything here? Steely Dan, too. Yeah, they're pretty good. Remember, what about Supertramp? There was this period in high school, there was an album by Supertramp called Even in the Quietest Moments. It has Give a Little Bit of Your Love to Me, and the title cut. There was a little period in high school when I liked to listen to that song before bed every night, Even in the Quietest Moments. I loved that song. I like that older stuff of theirs before they had all those hits on the Breakfast in America album. Steely Dan begat my Instagram username. Did it really? What, Blueprint Blues? That one? Hey, that's a great question. First concert, most unique concert experience. Well, my first concert was Kansas on the Point of No Return tour. It was Dust in the Wind on that album, and I really liked them. I had already had their previous album, at least, was it just before that, Left Overture with Carry On My Wayward Son, and then that album was huge, and I loved that album, Point of No Return, KNOW, Point of No Return. The title track is awesome. That whole album, He Knew, the great album, and Dust in the Wind was a mega hit. That was my first real concert. That was my first actual concert. But the opening band was Cheap Trick with their new song Surrender. So they were kind of new as well. And so technically they're the first band I saw. Most unique concert experience, that's, seeing Queen with Freddie was very meaningful. In some ways, I've seen Roger Waters 3 times, three different tours, and they were all great experiences. And he did the Wall tour not too many years ago. Well, I can't remember when it was. I saw it in the Bay Area. And that was a great show. What a theatrical show. But I'd have to think about that. Most unique concert experience. First concert is easy. Most unique concert experience, don't know. But before I saw Kansas, we did go in Houston to the rodeo one year at the Astrodome. And we went, the night we chose was specifically so me and Ellen could see David Cassidy. So in a way, that wasn't a real concert though. But we went to the rodeo and David Cassidy was driven around the perimeter of the field in a convertible. And we saw David Cassidy. Mark, what's BIA? Mother's Finest? Hey, Michael Gar, what you talking about? Breakfast in America. That's what you're talking about. Follow-up Breakfast in America was okay. I just like the older ones. There was that older album. I don't know what the album's called, but it had School and Bloody Well Right. That album. And Michael Krieger was he had all the old vinyl. He had all those old Supertramp albums, and there was an old song called Hide in Your Shell that was really good. Hey, do you remember this Canadian band called Saga? Hey, Darla, are you still out there? This Canadian band called Saga, do you know them? Because like in the 80s, they had a song called On the Loose, but I liked their sound, and I had a bunch of their albums. But they weren't very big in America. Mike Gar, Rush was your first concert or your most unique? Yeah, Mark, what are you saying is your most unique? Albert saw first concert ZZ Top. I never saw them. Have you seen a meme going around? I started to do it. It's like it's an alphabetical list. Like name a band that you saw in concert for each letter of the alphabet. And I never saw Warren Zevon or ZZ Top. I don't think I have a Z. I have almost every letter, but I don't have Z. I don't know if I have X. So, Albert, you saw ZZ Top at Cardi's, smaller club, and B.B. King at Baxter's was your most unique in Austin. That's awesome. Questo Piccolo Kaiju. Done up in print blue. It sure looks good on you. When you smile for the camera. I get it now. I know they're gonna love you. Peg, it will come back to you. Then the shutter falls. You see it all in. I never knew those words, and I'm having trouble putting it. How does then the shutter falls go? But then you see it all in 3D. So it's a 3D reference. I get you. Little Feat in 77, Mark Kaplan. Most unique, Pink Floyd in Italy in the late 80s. Woo! Darla fell asleep at a Stones concert while Johnny Lang was opening. Gar, most unique concert experience was a private concert with Bruce Hornsby. Just you and him? Very romantic. You and Bruce Hornsby. He didn't do. What was his big hit? Darla hasn't heard of Saga. Well, they're a little before your time, but they were a big Canadian band. You know, it was so funny. One time I was in Canada, maybe in Toronto, and I went to a record store, and I found that, what's the name of this band? They're called, they had a song called, She Looks a Lot Like, they're called, I can't think of their name, but I think the only song that made it to the States was She Looks a Lot Like You. I've got a new girl now. I've got a new girl now. I got a new girl now. And she's a lot like you. It was a very 80s song by 2 words. I can almost see it. Who is that? She's a lot like you. I've got a new girl now. Jesus. Come on. Hold on. Don't tell me. I got a new girl now. It's 2 words. My point of the story was that I once went to, I almost have it. I went to a record store in Canada, and there was a section for them. It was like in the United States, they had one song that made it to the States, but in Canada at a record store, they had an entire section, and they had a greatest hits album. And it was like, really? Because no, you only had one song. Is anyone going to tell me what that was? I just did something. Honeymoon Suite. I knew it was 2 words. Honeymoon Suite. And I just thought that was really interesting. I know that Canada, there's a mandate that the radio stations have to play a certain amount of Canadian music. And it was just funny to be in a record store and go, wow, Honeymoon Suite has an entire section. In the United States, they would just be under H. They would be filed in under H with all the other H's. Bruce Hornsby, he would have his own section, but Honeymoon Suite would be under H. Denise, you loved Saga? Yeah. They weren't big, but they had this song, You're on the Loose. And they, something about It's Late. I'm confusing it with the Queen song, but they had a song about being late. That was your first concert, Michael. I'd have to look to see if I know any of their stuff. Oh, Mandolin Rain. That's just the way it is. Yeah, thanks, Mark. My first concert was Damn Yankees, Firehouse and Poison. Wow. Damn Yankees with Tommy Shaw from Styx. Sarah, are you still out there? Damn Yankees was sort of a mixed band. I forget who was in Damn Yankees, but Tommy Shaw was in it, right? And is Sammy Hagar? Who's it? It's Tommy Shaw. Who's in Damn Yankees? It could be, I can think of 10 people that might have been in Damn Yankees. For some, like, was John Waite in Damn Yankees? Was Sammy Hagar in Damn Yankees? Who the hell was in that? I think Tommy Shaw was in Damn Yankees. Was a guy from Night Ranger in, I saw Night Ranger in concert, by the way. They were opening for, I think they opened for Sammy Hagar before Van Hagar. Mark, was that with Sophia Fettuccini or whatever your first name was? Oh, Michelle Maniscalco. Hey, by the way, Mark, we need to talk. Like, for a second, I was thinking, like, when I pulled up Michelle Maniscalco, there was one, like, really hot one that, maybe I don't know if she's a celebrity or she's something, an artist or something. It's like, I wonder if that's her. I couldn't tell, really. And then I didn't really look for very long. Honeymoon Suite. Sophia, Boy or Die. Jethro Tull. What, Albert? I saw Jethro Tull once, and the opening band was UK, which featured John Wetton. I think he had been in Crimson. What's that band? Famous old band. But then John Wetton sang in Asia. But he had this band UK, and there was this one song. I had the album, and there was this song, Nothing to Lose. I gotta find my life, nothing to lose. And that was a great opening act, and Jethro Tull was really good. I liked that show a lot. Not many rock bands do opera. Not many rock bands have a flute. Darla, you were listening to Jethro Tull. What? Oh my God. There are some Jethro Tull songs. I don't even know if I have a favorite, but you know what I really like? And oh my God, his lyrics are fantastic. But what a title. Skating Away on the Thin Ice of the New Day. I love that song so much. music, words, everything about it, skating away on the thin ice of the new day. Have you ever had the feeling that the story's too damn real and in the present tense? Or that everybody's on the stage and you're the only person sitting in the audience, skating away on the thin ice of the new day? Darla says we have Canadian content laws. We've been tortured with a lot of Nickelback. Yeah, and a lot of Rush, and the, they're almost like a weird shadow version of Rush. Triumph, another power trio, singer has a high voice. But Triumph, I had a couple of their albums, and I'll tell you what. There's the song, Fight the Good Fight is a great Triumph song, but the one, it's, Magic Power, and it's just another really gloriously happy, I just dropped some frames there, gloriously happy song about music. Magic Power. I love that Triumph song. I think I'm forgetting a couple others, but yeah. Mark, I never told you all the concerts I went to in high school for free at the Summit with an SAR buddy whose dad was the doctor on call. That's pretty cool. Saga, Don't Be Late. That's the song. Yes, thank you, Denise. And Mark, you were backstage for a lot. You know, I don't know how, but we went backstage. We didn't get to meet the band or anything, but whoever I was with when we went and saw Boston, I think Mike Krieger and I don't know who else, we went backstage, and I have some old photographs of the stage door and this rose in a vase. But it was Boston. Somebody opened that show too. Questopia. Hey, Sarah, I'm being included in Styx references. I don't think you were listening. I referenced Styx a long time ago. I don't think you were listening a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. A long, long time ago. I can still remember how the music used to make me smile. I said cry last night. And I knew it. I hesitated and I had it wrong. It's smile. Remember how the music used to make me smile? And I knew if I had my chance that I could make those people drink. And maybe they'd be happy for a while. Thinking of parody lyrics. Yes, Sarah, you now. But by the way, I saw Styx 3 times back in. Oh my God, I wish I could play you this video. Maybe I can. Oh no, it doesn't make sense. But back, I don't know if you can remember, but like a few months ago, things were different, and there used to be concerts and bands would be coming. And I saw an ad online on Instagram for Styx. Hold on. Like, let's just see. Videos. Albums. Let's just see if this is easy to find, because I saw an ad that Styx was coming in concert. But the funny thing is, that's not it. The funny thing is this it? No, that's not it either. I did a screen cap because it cracked me up because it was an ad for Styx. And the thing is, they have some of the original members, but then they have some other people, and they named all the people, and they were like, with Tommy and James, and then it was like, and Stig and Fred and Rocket and Chuck. And it was like, wait a minute, who were like, am I supposed to know those people? Those are not members of Styx. But I mean, they were at the time, but they were not the original members. And it just sounded Tommy and James, and then it just went off on some other names, and you're like, if you tell me those are people in Styx, I guess I have to believe you. Here we go. Ready? I hope they say it and don't just show it. Let's see if we can do this.
Deepak and show on the road. Live in 2020. Tommy, JY, Lawrence, Ricky, Todd, Chuck, Sticks. August 2nd. Live at G-Town.
Lawrence, Ricky, what? Who are these? What? Hold on. It's not James, it's JY. That's James Young. Tommy Shaw. Tommy, JY. And then what?
Let's get this show on the road.
That's not Dennis DeYoung.
Tommy, JY, Lawrence, Ricky, Todd, Chuck.
Lawrence, Ricky, Todd. Who the fuck are they? Chuck is one of the two Panazzo brothers. His brother died. He's an original member, but Lawrence, Ricky, Todd. What? You went off the rails. 1 minute you were talking about Styx, and then it was Nickelback or some shit. I have no idea, but that cracked me up so much that I did a screen cap of it. Maybe just funny to me, but that's hilarious. Tommy, JY, right? Freddie, Brian, Roger, Bill, Arnold, Theodore, and John. You know what I'm saying? Susan says, I have no clue. It was the summer of 93. You found her on Facebook? I'd like to see her show. Will you send me her profile? I'm curious. Ryan Thomas, 527. I don't know if you're still out there, Ryan, but thanks for watching on your Periscope. King Crimson. Thank you, Albert. That was the band I couldn't think of. John Wetton, I think he was in that band, that classic rock band. And then he was the singer for Asia. He might have even been in, no, I don't, I was going to say the Buggles, but I'm thinking of somebody else, that did Video Killed the Radio Star. I don't think so. How about concerts you went to that were one hit or one album wonders? Well, Ryan Thomas, hold on, best guitarist of all time was P. Ness. Do you agree? Who? I definitely don't agree, but I don't even know who you penis. Are you just saying penis? Or are you serious? Oh, Darla saw live. And Albert has not seen The Dead live. Denise loved Triumph. Geddy Lee, that voice. You either love it or hate it. Are you saying you hate it? I like him. Geddy Lee, I like him. And did you know his parents, Jewish Holocaust survivors? You're Canadian, you probably know that. You probably learned that in history in 5th grade or something. Of course you know that Geddy Lee's parents were Holocaust survivors. And I think it was his grandmother, his name is Gary, but she called him Geddy Lee. One hit or one album wonders. I mean, do you think Frankie Goes to Hollywood was one hit wonder? I mean, I knew some other songs of theirs. They were really good. I saw that. Frankie Goes to Hollywood, when they played Relax, Don't Do It, When You Want to Get to It, Relax, Don't Do It, When You Want to Come. At the end of the song, he goes, Did you come? And the crowd goes, ah. And he goes, I came twice. That's my main memory from that concert. And you might think, Rick Ocasek, that Rick Springfield was kind of a one-hit wonder or something, but you would be wrong. And if you thought he was a soap opera star who tried to become a musician, he was a musician first who became a soap opera star and then continued his music career. And boy, I had a couple of his albums and they were pretty damn good. And he wrote the songs or co-wrote them. There was a cover too. It wasn't really a hit, but he covered a Sammy Hagar song. Do you know the song I'm talking about? Come on. I've done everything for you. You done nothing for me. I've done everything for you. You done nothing for me. Sammy Hagar wrote it, recorded it. Rick Springfield did a pretty good version of it. He wrote Jesse's Girl. He wrote some of his other hits, but his albums were good. There's a couple deep cuts. The album that has Jesse's Girl, Working Class Dog, had some great songs. There's this bluesy song called Red Hot and Blue Love that I really liked. I just like that whole album. And on his next album, Oh my God. He wrote a song about his father. All these people have died. It's about his dead father, and it's one verse, very short song. It's a tearjerker. It's a total tearjerker. Maybe it's a minute long or something, just one short verse. And I could say the words, but that's not what does it. It's like the words and the melody and his emotion in it. And it's about the afterlife, which I don't think there's an afterlife, but I still like the song. I know all your life you wondered about that step we all take alone. How far does the spirit travel on its journey? You must surely be near heaven, and it thrills me to the bone to know that Daddy knows the great unknown. But the thing is, it's not those words as much as the way he sings it and the melody is like, oh, it's a tearjerker. Especially if you have a dead father, it helps to appreciate that song. But Rick Springfield, Mark Kaplan and Albert, if only Michael Krieger were here, I didn't know very many people that were Rick Springfield fans, and we were back college years, and when he was big. And Mike Kotwitz, our old friend Mike Kotwitz was also a friend. Me and Mike Kotwitz went to see Rick Springfield, and we were probably the only two males at the summit, probably filled with screaming little girls, and me and Mike Kotwitz, and we loved the show. It was great. Rick Springfield's really pretty good. I hope I don't lose music cred with you when I tell you he's actually pretty good. And I'll tell you what else gives him good cred. Did you know that Dave Grohl, who's been in two really successful bands, Foo Fighters, and that other one, I think, Nirvana. He made a documentary called, somebody help me out, what is Dave Grohl's documentary? And it's about this music studio that had an incredible history and all the stuff that was recorded there, and it was old school and analog, and it finally closed. He purchased their soundboard, and he brought it to his own home studio. And the whole documentary is about a lot of the stuff that was recorded, and it has great musicians and interviews. And then at the end, a lot of these people perform at his home studio, including Paul McCartney, and a bunch of other cool people, and Rick Springfield. That album, Working Class Dog, that was his breakthrough album, was also recorded at that studio, and he's a part of it. And that's kind of interesting, like, because you'll see the other ones are like Fleetwood Mac and all these other old classic rock bands, and Springfield's in there. But if you knew him, I think he would surprise you. Ryan Thomas, I saw Live. I love Triumph. Geddy Lee. Crash Test Dummies, I never knew them. Opened for Costello. Adam Ant, I saw that same tour. I saw that concert, Mark, in Austin, Texas. Adam Ant with In Excess opening. And In Excess, I think they only really had one. I think their one hit was Don't Change for You. Don't change a thing for me. And they were early in their career before they had a bunch of hits. They were great. And Adam Ant was spectacular in concert. Huge band, 10, 12 people on stage, 2 drummers, horns, probably more than that. It was fabulous. And the sound was great. And I liked him. I had a couple Adam Ant albums. Triumph, Magic Power. Handed Mick Fleetwood, Mark, you gave Mick Fleetwood a towel. It was crazy. Wasted on your youth. Best lineup Albert saw was the Fabulous Thunderbirds, ZZ Top, Rolling Stones at the Cotton Bowl in the early 80s. Cool. Mark had tickets tonight for the Format. You know what? I was considering going to see just 2 nights ago John Waite from the Babies, and then his solo career. I Ain't Missing You at All. But, you know, if you listen, it sounds like he really does miss her. He says he doesn't miss her, but honestly, I think he does. I mean, I'm just not sure. Same thing, you know that guy in 10cc, he keeps saying I'm not in love, but if you listen, it totally sounds like he might be in love. He's like, he says I have your picture up on the wall, Right. Oh, it hides a nasty stain that's lying there, and that's the only reason it's there. I think he's lying. I think he's really, he says he's not in love, but he is. And I think John Waite is missing you, no matter what he says. Simon and Al, not Simon and Garfunkel, Simon and, I grew up with Simon and Alvin. Alvin! She may be single, Brian. It's never too late. The second keyboardist for Asia was the Buggles guy, Trevor Horn. Is that who you mean? She's married, Mark. That's okay. I just want to see her Facebook page. She's just sat behind me in homeroom in junior high. Sarah says the internet tells me Todd's been with Styx since 1995. Holy crap, 25 years. Let Todd be in Styx. Lawrence since 99. Ricky since 2003. Sarah, you're blowing my mind. I don't know who these people are, and I don't know if you could just claim to be in Styx because you've been in the Styx for a long time. Because all the albums that matter, do they even make albums? I guess maybe they do, but all the albums that matter, Dennis DeYoung was on them, and that is just, you're blowing my mind. Darla hates Geddy Lee's voice, but he's an amazing bassist. Some stuff, Frankie's version of Born to Run, that's right, Albert. Frankie Goes to Hollywood did a great cover of Born to Run. You know what else they did? There's an old 60s song called Ferry on the Mersey. It's an okay song. Go listen to the Frankie Goes to Hollywood song. It's beautiful. Ferry on the Mersey, and this da 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 da, and here I something. It's beautiful, unlike that. And one of the other songs of theirs that blew me away, it's called The Power of Love. That song is epic. That's an original song of theirs. The Power of Love by Frankie Goes to Hollywood. I loved that song. Denise has a ticket to see Rick Springfield and Chicago at Red Rocks in June. Hey, Denise, I got bad news for you. I don't know if you're going to be seeing them in June at Red Rocks. Denise has a ticket to see Kraftwerk. I never really got into them. I know of them, but I don't know them. You saw Bieber, Sound City, thank you, Mark. Dave Grohl's documentary, which it was on Amazon or Netflix. I highly recommend it. Dave Grohl, it's Sound City is the documentary. It's great. Lots of musical performances, lots of great interviews. Albert took his stepdaughter to see Bruno Mars, same deal. Opening act was great. Janelle Monáe, I don't know them really. Mark saw Sound City. Why switch? Why not just watch you on both? I don't know. What's the point? Mark, you went with Eric Pulaski at the Austin Auditorium Shores? Okay, so I was at that show. Frankie Goes... no. In Excess and, what was that? Adamant? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, I saw that in Austin too. You know who else I loved? I saw a lot of 80s stuff in Austin. And one was, Don't Try to Live Your Life in One Day. What was his name? Keyboard guy. He had a bunch of hits off one album. I know his name, and his name escapes me. Help me out. John Waite. I was in one of his videos. Really? You won a contest, Arlene? That's so cool. Ironically, you decided to wait. I opened for John Waite once in the Bay Area at a really small venue. I did comedy. Comedy is tough in front of a music act. People don't want it. But this venue was small enough that it worked okay. And so I got to meet John Waite. And I have a couple pictures with him, and I was a huge fan of his solo stuff. That album that has Missing You, he had a lead guitarist on that album who's a very cool musician, not that well known to a lot of people, but his name's Gary Myrick. Gary Myrick had a couple well-known songs. One was She Talks in Stereo, MTV hit. and one was called The Message Is You. But holy crap, the album that has Missing You, that relatively soft rock hit, that album has some rock on it, and Gary Myrick's guitar is ripping. It's really good. The message, his own song is The Message Is You, but that album, John Waite, I think it's called No Breaks, and it's a solid album. Missing You, he didn't write that, but John, he writes or co-writes most of his stuff. Maybe Gary Myrick contributed, but there's some rockin' stuff on that album. FF recorded Wasted Life with the board from Sound Stereos. Had tickets for the Foo Fighters next week. Oh, The Power of Love. What a beautiful song, yeah? Netflix has Sound City. Adamant. Howard Jones, thank you very much. It's like, I always like when you go, now I remember. No, that's not remembering. Somebody told you, that's not remembering. Remembering, but I do remember. Howard Jones, he was super cool. And kind of like, the only time I saw, you're going to have to excuse me. I'm almost 60 and almost dead, according to Daniel Whiteson, the physicist. I should be dead any moment now. And, recall, but, we just talked about him a ton, the synthesizer player. She blinded me with science. One of our submarines is missing. She blinded me with Thomas Dolby. I saw him at some San Francisco venue that was like a tech event. But I saw him I forgot, I've seen him twice. The other time was like a radio station's a morning thing with very few people live on the radio. We went to this venue, and that was super cool. I saw Matthew Sweet do that in San Francisco, and I saw Thomas Dolby do that. Those were very cool. Howard Jones, he was really good. He had a lot of good songs in that electronic era. Mark Kaplan, things can only get better, and no one is to blame. He often plays small venues, performs in New Hope, Pennsylvania. Hey, Darla, I have one for you. Hold on. He plays small venues, Pennsylvania. I had a meet and greet with him. Really nice guy. Wait, which one do you mean? Do you mean, Darlene Howard Jones? Denise says, I just saw Howard Jones in a trio in an intimate setting at the Oriental in Denver right before the self-isolation began. It was amazing. I like him. He's really good. Darla, I have another Canadian act that I like a lot. Here's a guy, I never saw him in concert. In the United States, he's a one-hit wonder with a classic hit that everyone knows. But I had a few of his albums, and I love him. And it's Nick Gilder. And his one big hit was Hot Child in the City, which some people think is a woman singing, but it's not. Hot Child in the City. I'm going to close something here. The activity monitor's still doing 200. Oh my God, we've dropped even more frames. We've dropped 1 out of every 100 frames. That's going to be a lot of frames we have to pick up. Nick Gilder, I can't remember who he wrote. Do you remember also, so he wrote or co-wrote most of his songs. He had a great sound. He had an album called Frequency that came out around 1979 or something, and there's a song at the end called, it came out in 79 or 80, and it had a song called Into the 80s. But that album is very like sci-fi. And you probably wouldn't know anything on it. I loved it. He had a really interesting like lyric sensibility and sound, and his songs have a very distinctive sound. And one of them, and if you know, it totally sounds like him. Do you remember that song by Scandal called Beating on the Walls of Heartache, Bang Bang, I am the warrior, I am the warrior. He co-wrote that song. And you know what? That could totally be on any of his albums. It's a very Nick Gilder song. but that band Scandal with Patti Smythe had a big hit with it. He co-wrote that song with someone. Denise, you can hear Hot Child in the City. Mark, how do you remember that I played Hot Child in the City for you for the first time? That's a weird memory. Oh, John Waite. Oh, very cool. I enjoyed meeting John Waite, Darlene. Colin Hay. You know, it's weird because after Men at Work, not Men Without Hats, SSSSAAAAFFFFEETT, Safety Dance. I had that album. The album by Men Without Hats called, with the song Safety Dance. I don't know what the album was called, but I only remember 2 songs from it. Safety Dance that I really like. You can dance if you want to. You can leave your friends behind. But there was a song on there called Antarctica. Antarctica. That's the only part I remember. But Men at Work, Colin Hay, you know, I was like, yeah, whatever. But oh my God, when you see him playing just acoustic solo, really good singer-songwriter. So I don't know enough about him. Colin Hay, but I want to see more. Susan is singing now. Hot Child in the City got played a lot, yeah. But man, his album, so I even went back. There's an old album of his that's not available on CD. And I had to go find it somewhere where I found someone who made a really good recording of it and put the files out. So I have those digital files because I no longer have the vinyl. But I had a few Nick Gilder albums, and I like them all. They had some great songs. Maybe you even know some other, like he had this old song called Roxy Roller. Waiting for My Real Life to Begin is a great song by Colin Hay. I think I've heard that one. Well, very cool, you know. We've dropped a lot of frames. We've dropped a lot of references. I'm so glad we had this time together. Goodbye. I wonder if I just reverted to looking at my phone, how long you would still be watching. Let's test. Ooh. Thanks for my order. You're welcome. I ordered some new tech gear, that little things. I ordered another light, like that colored light. But everything I ordered that should be on Prime isn't going to come for a couple or few weeks. Damn you, coronavirus. Moment. Hey, why is that happening? Oh yeah, because I turned it up so we could listen to Tommy, J.Y., Theodore, Frederick, Todd. There's not someone named Todd in Styx. I'm sorry, but that can't be. You might as well have a guy named Todd in Queen. No. Todd, Philip, Andre. No. How big is this damn band? I can't even think of more. Albert, are you in Styx? I would accept that, but I can't accept Todd. Regina. Jose. All these people. Who the hell is in Styx? I told you that maybe my favorite writer, right up there, Richard Brautigan, and I read some sentences to you last night and some poems, and I know his daughter, Ianthe Brautigan, and on Facebook, there was this thread where I had posted that poem that I read you last night, and then I told her, she wrote that I love that poem, and I goes, me too, and I read it last night on my live stream, also the beautiful poem for contrast, and she said they were both, and I said they were both well received. Oh, she just gave hearts to them. She didn't comment. But yeah, I'm happy to be an evangelist for Richard Brautigan because he's really amazing. Oops, that's not what I want to. Are we even still here? Wow, a lot of you are. This is pretty amazing. What do we got here? How about the Northern Pikes, a fine Saskatchewan band? No, never heard of them. I mean, they sound kind of familiar. Kimberly, you've got a gift. Oh, you know what? I do have a gift. I got mail today from my friend. You know, I've mentioned many times my friend Elena Levine, a science writer. In fact, the story last night, remember that guy came on from Chile, a scientist? And I met him at the Lindau Nobel Laureate meeting, and I was sitting with my friend Elena Levine, who also attends the meeting every year, except this year because it was canceled. She sent me a little gift. Sarah. Oh, you already know. Are you out there, Sarah? Because my friend, she sent me some socks. Can you tell what they are? Can you read that? So you can kind of read that. Queen, happy socks. We will sock you. There's Brian May. I just got them. I really wasn't going to touch them until all the virus died, but for you people, I guess I'm just going to... Let's hope for the best. I'll contract the virus that she sent to me. Oh, that's Brian. Where did Freddie go? Oh, well, there's little Freddie. You can tell that's Freddie by half his face. Roger Taylor. Is John? Where's John? You have to include John somewhere on here. Well, that would be just weird. Brian May. Roger Taylor. Oh, John. That doesn't look anything like him. Oh, man. They try really hard to get Freddie and Brian right, but they don't even try with John. I don't know if that looks like him at all. Oops. But he's the other guy in Queen, so that has to be him. Anyway... I have Queen socks now because of a friend. Just don't step on them and break. You had a sweater to put on at the beginning of each sweat. You need a sweater to put on like Mr. Rogers. Not in the summer. Maybe in the winter, but not in the summer here in North Carolina. The keyboard player that took Dennis DeYoung's place is really great. Sorry, Denise, I can't go there. He like sounds kind of like Dennis DeYoung, but he's not Dennis DeYoung was that band, and it was great that they had Tommy Shaw and James Young. What a great thing, and the Panazzo brothers. But Todd and Andre and Philippe, yeah, I can't do it. Like I can't do it. Albert only raps. The Tucson Scientist, bear down. Don't know. Awesome socks. Where's Nate, the fifth band Queen member? John chooses not to appear on the sock. That's right. After Freddie died, John refused to appear on any socks anymore. Where are the socks from? They're from Happy Socks. You have a pair with Freddie that Regina sent you for Christmas. Yeah, these say Queen Happy Socks. We will sock you. HappySocks.com. Happy Socks, S-O-C-K-S. It's not John, it's Todd. That's not John, it's Todd. Todd is in Styx and Queen? Jesus Christ. Jesus might as well be in Styx. It's the second coming of Styx with Tommy, J.Y., Jesus, Theodore, Philip, and Todd. Isn't your gifter from Tucson? Yeah, she is. Why'd you ask that? She's not from there, but she's in Tucson or Arizona anyway, yeah. Denise, I didn't think I would go there either, Brian, until I saw the new lineup. Yeah. I saw Styx 3 times in their heyday. I saw them on the... The first time was the best. It was Pieces of Eight. And they just rocked, and their vocals, some songs seemed better live than in the studio. They have three lead singers, and they harmonize well together, and they just rocked. Pieces of Eight, they were a rock band. And then was like Cornerstone tour, and it was this soft rock, and I mean, I like some of it. Babe, I'm leaving. But the concert was like, this wasn't even the same band. It was like a soft rock concert. And then they came back with, the third time I saw them was the Paradise Theater tour. And it was a little back in the direction of rock, but it didn't have any, it was like with its edges honed off. So it would have been somewhere in between Cornerstone and Pieces of Eight, but that Pieces of Eight tour was great. With Tommy, JY, Gregory, Philippe, Jesus, Todd, Greg, Eric, and Bill. Pieces of Eight. That was a great album. Todd is such a prima donna, he can only play pieces of six. I know. That's unacceptable. Todd. So I even brought a bunch of things to show you or even potentially read to you, and it turned out to be totally unnecessary. All we needed was the wine, and you've been talking, and Jesus. Jesus. That's right. But you know what? You know what I wanted to show you? And again, if we were doing this right, I would have scanned these and I would just show them to you. But I mentioned my friend Joey on the past few shows. So look, these are just some letters I received from Joey over the years. I can show you that address because that's when I lived in Hollywood. 6651 Franklin Avenue, number 305. And he was in Austin. But like, isn't that cute as hell? Like, and it says, it's all brain, that's me. It's all madness. You do realize that, don't you? Total madness. Except, of course, when things are going our way, then it's all cool. Total coolness. Words of wisdom or scribbles of insanity. You decide, love Joey. Just random, like, but I love the little drawing. And then look at this one. So, because my name is Brian Mallow. Hi, nice to meet you. Welcome to my stream. Come in, sit down. No, make yourself comfortable. Sit down. Because my people, Jews that came from Russia and Poland through New York, and people had asked me, and back on the comedy scene in Austin, my friend John O'Connell and Joey, we were talking, and it's like, well, was your name Mallow shortened from something? And then it became, the joke was that it was Malachowski. And so Brian Malachowski, and the first name that went with that was Shecky, comedian. So Shecky Malachowski became a nickname for me with just a couple, like 2 or 3 people, Joey and John, really. So this is addressed to Shecky Mallow. And then again, 1995, all the little drawings on here. Down here it says word up, word down, word all around. And this little things like this bird up here, and this one, and his self-addressed. And this right over here, this is Petey. We talked a lot about Petey. That's Petey. And what this was from 1995, this is something he made and sent out because his daughter was born. And he made this little flip book like that and that. That's the stork bringing the little daughter. That's them cradling the little daughter, somebody cradling the little daughter. That's the newborn herself. It says, where are the instructions? And it's like a self-portrait of him holding her, and it says, where are the instructions? So check this out. See this? It says, once upon a time, October 5th, 1995 to be exact, the stork that normally delivers babies called in sick. Something about a sore beak, even though a party could be heard going on in the background. Panic set in. UPS refused to ship anything that drools. Fortunately, Gus, the cigar-chomping crow, was on call, and after a couple pots of coffee, he sobered up enough to make the drop-off. The package, a lovely girl, 5 pounds, 13 ounces, 19 inches long, named Max Lee Thompson, arrived at 5:46 a.m. Both parents, Dawn Thompson and Joey Walden, happily signed for the little bundle. So then it says, Gus the cigar-chomping crow, bringing joy and inspiration. So that's not a stork, but it's Gus the cigar-chomping crow, bringing joy and inspiration along with a dirty diaper. So this is the birth announcement. Enjoying a home-cooked meal. There she is nursing, and he wrote, enjoying a home-cooked meal. Sucking on the nipple there. There's the photo. Where are the instructions? We already looked at that one. Oh, and look at the dog at his feet. Isn't that cute? And then on the back, so that was mass produced, I guess, and he sent out to all his friends. And at the back, I have to be careful. I don't know if all of this is ready for prime time. It says, hey, brain, I just discovered that duct tape is an incredible babysitter. Couple of strips over the back. On a linoleum floor, the little Max stays there and Daddy can go out and have a couple beers. So much change in my life now. This journey of existence is but a ride operated by a drunken carny in a Walmart parking lot. And I mean that in the best of ways. Miss you and hope life is licking your balls. Love, Joey. Poppy or Pappy, I'm not sure. But, oh, shit. Hang on. I can't have that. This baby is 25 years old now. That's crazy. So, oops. Part of a tour. Here's another good one. Look at this. Remember letters? Like, this was rare. People didn't send letters in 1995. This is also 1995 to me in San Francisco. Let's see what this one says. So that right there in the photocopy is a photocopy of one of his notebooks, one of his little sketchbooks. But this is what it would look like. He has interesting handwriting and always does it up really well. My dear brother, word. That's all I have to say. Word, 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 word. Word up. Word to your mother. And oh yeah, word to the rest of your family. Right now, as I sit here writing you this, there's a blue jay outside my window with a big nut in his mouth. And of course, I'm talking about a pecan, not a testicle. And it's obviously looking for a place to hide this meal for later. Aren't you glad we don't have to do that? Hide meals, that is. Like, let's say you get a hamburger at Mickey D's, hip street slang for McDonald's, and you're already full from the fish sandwich and fries, so now you have to go outside and bury the hamburger in the dirt or under some leaves. What a hassle. Sometimes I forget how good we have it. Well, I'm enclosing a copy of The Free-Spirited Dog. He's the only thing that could turn Value Jet around. Enjoy life, as I know you will. Love, your whimsical kindred bro, Joey. Yeah. Memories, blah, 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 blah. And, Joey's home address, there's a bird flying, there's a little Petey, there's Petey right there, and just a bunch of other little figures. And again, when I still lived in San Francisco. And this, he actually was sending me a bunch of his art and stuff. In fact, these, he sent me these for a reason, and I already had copies of most of them, but these are refrigerator magnets. There's one with a birdhouse for a head. That one is not attached to a magnet. I'm not sure why, but these are. And I already have a couple of these on my refrigerator. even still. And he sent a couple of his little notepads, which are just like, yeah, too much, but just fun stuff. And these little sketch pads and doodles for dawdling. That's a physical cutout, where it's made of wood and it's several pieces. Like the head sticks out from it's a separate piece from the back and the arms, so it's 3-dimensional. And yeah, just more prepare for liftoff, and then it's just a little sketch pad with some weird stuff in it. So yeah, let's see what he had to say though. Hello, my brother. That's this. Hello, my brother. I'm sending you a small sampling of the new madness. The doorknob division will be opening soon. Look forward to our visit. Tell all I said hi. Well, not all. That would be way too time-consuming. So just keep it to the people in your house. Unless, of course, you want to skywrite it. That's up to you. Love, Joey. And look at this craziness, like this weird neck and all this. Oh, yeah. Anyway, there were a couple private jokes or references in there. But we used to joke about like loving his art and like making some product off some of his art and commercializing it. And I was like, my thing was I just want, like I had this idea that some of his weird characters and things would make great doorknobs. Like you could make these really weird artistic doorknobs. And then, so I was like, I maintained that when he became bigger, that I would be in charge of the doorknob division, and many things would fall under the doorknob division. Like I would often claim it's like that. I think that comes under the doorknob division. All right, let's see what you got here. How far back? There we go. Where are the socks from? That's not John. I didn't think I would go there until I saw the new lineup. All right, Todd, Pieces of Six. Todd was Jesus' actual name, but everyone called him Toddums, so he went by his middle name, Jesus. Todd sings the lead in Pretty Good Illusion. I like a guy named Todd Snyder. If you haven't heard of him, he's a singer-songwriter that had some pretty cool songs. I first saw him at South by Southwest on a free outdoor stage and thought he was great. Bought one of his albums. The dog character is a barker. You're mostly Polish. We're not holding up our end, folks. What's our end? We know you knew some talented people. Yeah, like a lot of them. It's true. Brian knows all the talented people. You know, that's one of the things that one of the reasons I've always thought that that I could do. You know that thing we talked about the other night? Could have been not this night, but the other night. About surrounding yourself with people that are smarter than you, more talented than you. I've always felt blessed that I've known so many really interesting people. I've always had interesting friends, and then other people that, if it's a stretch to call them my friend, that I've gotten the opportunity to meet a lot more amazing people. But I've just always thought that I could do, like, one reason I could do a good show is not because of me, but because I have so many interesting people that I think other people would find interesting. I know so many cool people. There are a lot of cool people out there, people. Yeah. But Joey was one of a kind. But we're all one of a kind. We are each, and not only just us humans, every creature here. Well, there's we could put a little technicality on this before I even finish it. I already see a problem with it. Is that we are each a unique roll of the genetic dice. You know, like each one of us is like a little experiment in itself. The reason I was saying is like some things, like some ants might be genetic duplicates, but surely from the moment they're born, they have different experiences. And they're not really as identical as they started out. But for the most part, especially with humans and most other animals, each individual creature is a unique roll of the genetic dice. And it's such an interesting thing, the playing out of the evolution of the DNA molecule, of which we are just this weird manifestation. But on some level, it's just DNA that's changing and evolving and mutating. And then the DNA itself, and then when it expresses itself, it gets built into some weird creature like me with 2 arms and a cup full of wine. Not full anymore, technically. The cup is half empty. I'm not a pessimist. I'm just a little buzzed. The cup is more than half empty. It's a bullshit cup. Interesting people stick to me. It's true. And then I've just been blessed to meet some really cool. Oh yeah, was it Kimberly? Was it you that asked me if there's ever been like was it a scientist that blew my mind? So the person I met one time that I was the most starstruck by, no pun intended, was Stephen Hawking. I met Stephen Hawking, and I'm so lucky to have a photo with him. It was before the selfie days. It was like, it was the 50th anniversary of NASA. It was approximately, you tell me, 2008? While I was talking to him at this reception after a NASA event, someone I know took a picture of us. And because of that, I have a picture of me talking to Stephen Hawking. But we have a clip. I think we have a clip. And honestly, easily, I've never been more starstruck. I mean, in a sense, I met him twice because it turned out the next morning I got to attend, it's actually a good story. Maybe I should tell you the story, but I was staying at this hotel, but I had used like, not Hotwire, but Priceline. And so I had gotten a really nice DC hotel for about $100. And when I checked out the next morning after that evening and that reception, him and his party were in the lobby, so I saw them again. And his daughter, Lucy Hawking, was there too. And you just know that they didn't spend, I got the room for $100, and they probably had a better room, but I got a room at that hotel for $100 on Priceline. I'll bet they spent a lot more. Isn't this here somewhere? Let's see if I can show you this. You know what happened is, one time I performed in Washington, D.C. at this museum called the Marion Koshland Science Museum. It's an outlet of the National Academy of Sciences. And I did a show at this museum, and I actually did 3 shows. Oh, am I able? I wish I could just show this window. I don't know how to do that offhand. I'm not easily finding this. I wanted to find this. Oh, there it is. One sec. Let's do that again. Let's see. Image. Okay. Browse. Downloads. So what happened is, I did this show at a museum, and it had a title called The Final Frontier, ? And the answer is, no, it's not the final frontier. There'll be no final frontiers. But what happened is I did this show, and afterwards, I had done a lot of, that show had some pro space program stuff, and pro man in space stuff, and people in space, humans. And afterwards, there were some people from NASA in the audience, and they came up to me, and they were not scientists, they were administrators and educators, and they said, hey, in about 10 days, Stephen Hawking is coming to DC, and it's part of NASA's 50th anniversary. And he's coming to give a talk and help us celebrate the 50th anniversary. And we have the opportunity to submit some questions, but we didn't really know what to ask him. And after they saw my show, they thought I might know what to ask him. And would you like to come up with a question for Stephen Hawking? And I was like, yeah. And they said, so it's in 10 days. They couldn't pay my travel, but if I wanted to attend, I could attend. And what happened is, the only thing is, because it was very hard for him to type up answers to things, because at this point, all he could do was he had no muscular control over any part of his body, except he would do this little blinking thing, and it could control this cursor. And it was a very painstakingly slow process for him to write something. So because of that, they said, great, but we have to submit the question by tomorrow morning. And so I said, okay. So when the event was over, I went back to my hotel room and I came up with a question. And the next day I sent it to them. And there was like a joke and a question. And let's see where y'all are right now. Are you still with me? Kimberly says, if I were to write about your life, it would have a magical element to it. Your little treasures you have everywhere. You're almost not real, like a character from a book. That's hilarious. Darla says it's true. He's like a rainbow. I come in colors everywhere. I'm losing my hair. I'm like a rainbow. The unicorn of people. Your next YouTube series should be about each person you've met. They can be people we know or hidden gems you feel people should know. It'd be unique to hear your perspective. That's interesting. Thanks, Kimberly. So my question for Hawking, it had a joke in it that's really obscure. In fact, it's a joke that he'd be one of the only people in the room to understand it. But in the show that I did, I explained some stuff and then later told this joke, knowing you would get it because I explained some stuff. So there's a thing called a naked singularity. I don't even have an understanding of this. So, Stephen Hawking, one of the area he published a lot, did research on black holes. He's the one who said that black holes aren't really entirely black, that they can actually radiate something called Hawking radiation. So that's something he predicted that we haven't experimentally seen, but it's a prediction by the math and the science. Hawking radiation, that black holes would give off this Hawking radiation. And also there's something called micro black holes, which are not as big as the sun or massive like multiple stars. They're like, if you crushed a little piece of matter down, anything could be a black hole. And that would be a micro black hole. And a naked singularity, I don't even fully understand what it means. But you know how we say that a black hole, there's a singularity at the beginning, in the middle, which it's a very incomprehensible thing, because all this matter, it becomes this point of infinite density. That's this singularity. We don't understand. It's hard to wrap your mind around what it is. But there's a singularity, but there's an event horizon out here somewhere. And anywhere, if you come closer to the center than the event horizon, then you can't escape. So there's an event horizon. But a naked singularity, they say, is, and this is my layman's interpretation, is it's where it might be a spinning black hole, and the idea is that you can see the singularity, because of the way it's spinning. I never fully understood this, but the idea is it's naked because you can see, despite the the event horizon or something. Anyway, it doesn't matter. And the joke is kind of convoluted. And let me make sure I can remember it for a second. Did this? Okay, so Hawking radiation, black holes would radiate it, but interestingly, the smaller they are, the more they would radiate it. So in fact, the smaller they get, as they radiate away and get smaller and smaller, towards the end, it would accelerate and they'd be giving out even more, and then there would be a little explosion at the end. So the smaller they are, like a micro black hole would be more. And so I knew something too. NASA was launching an X-ray satellite, and one thing it was gonna look for was Hawking radiation. It wasn't the main reason, but it was gonna look for Hawking radiation, and if they found it, Hawking could have won a Nobel Prize, which he never did, by the way. And you can't win one after you die. If you die, you can never win a Nobel Prize. So, here's what I submitted to them. I said, Professor Hawking, my question is in two parts. And in the first part, I say, I don't know how I said this, but it's to set up this joke. What did the naked singularity say to the micro black hole? Is that Hawking radiation, or are you just excited to see me? See me because you can see a naked singularity and it's naked and it sounds like that, but is that Hawking radiation given off by or are you just excited to see me? Are you just happy to see me? And then I said, tonight, all these people are asking you questions. What's the question you most want the answer to? That was my question. So the next morning, I checked out of my hotel. I sent them the thing late at night. I wrote this up. I sent it to them. And then next morning, I was in a super shuttle on the way to the airport when my contact from NASA called me. And she said, she passed it on to her bosses, and they liked it. They liked the joke. No, I'm sorry. They liked the question, but not the joke. Like, we're going to submit the question, but not the joke. And I had a feeling it was because it sounded like a dirty joke, naked singularity and all this. So I asked her if like that's, and then I had her, I'm in a super shuttle in the back on the way to the airport. She put her boss on, and I convinced her that this joke, here, I told her some of the things I already told you. I explained I know it sounds like a dirty joke, but it's not. And in fact, like Hawking radiation is something predicted by Stephen Hawking. NASA, this is for NASA's 50th birthday. NASA just launched or is about to launch an X-ray satellite. One of the things it's going to do is look for Hawking radiation. If they find it, he could win a Nobel Prize. And I go, all these parts, I know it sounds naked singularity. It's actually a physics, it's a concept in physics. It's not dirty. And Hawking radiation and micro black hole, and it all makes sense. Now, he might be the only person to get it, but I convinced her that the joke was okay, and they submitted the joke and the question for this event that would be in 10 days. And they wouldn't pay for my travel, but I could attend the event. And so I did. I bought a ticket and I got a hotel on Priceline and I went to the event. But by the time the event came, they had bad news for me, which is what Stephen Hawking didn't take any questions, because it was a great effort for him to to compose a new speech for NASA's 50th birthday anniversary, and so he didn't have time to deal with those questions and compose answers to them, because he can't do it on the fly very easily. So, but I felt like that was such a victory, because I convinced this administrator who was like, no, it sounds like a dirty joke, and I convinced her, no, you don't understand, it's all legit, and blah, 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 and NASA's launching a satellite, and I convinced her to include it, yay! And I could have asked him this question at the event, and instead, he didn't take any. But after his talk, and his daughter Lucy Hawking, they had written a children's book together. She spoke too, and there was a reception, and I got to meet him, and I talked to him, and I told him the joke, but I've never been, the point is, I was never more starstruck. I was like, Stephen Hawking. I mean, I was pretty starstruck meeting Brian May, but Stephen Hawking, even more so. Denise, glued to my words. Kimberly, it could be called People I've Met. These are people who've died. They're all my friends. Oh my God, you can help me. I coached astronomy this year, but I was teaching 3 other events too. I haven't fully grasped it yet. Basic astronomy stuff. I mean, Albert says no accretion disk at the event horizon. But Albert, I thought it's more than that. I thought there's something about it spinning because there's an event horizon and nothing escapes. You can't see it. But I thought there's something about it spinning and you can see the singularity, like it's like the event horizon is warped or something. But I'm not sure about that. Did you read his last submission for the Nobel? No, I didn't. Ellen in Atlanta, that is manifest injustice. Yes, I'm here to like you. Thank you. I can't believe you even turned in. I shouldn't even still be on. Albert Nurk is watching. Say hello to Ellen in Atlanta. Ellen Mallow, mallowmediation.com. Questo Piccolo Kaiju says our boy just posted. Oh yeah, until I met Brian May. No, Brian May I was pretty starstruck by. I've met him a couple times and I'm very starstruck by him. But Stephen Hawking really was. We're losing my friend Sarah because she says Brian May just posted something. Why don't let's take a look at what is it a video? If it is, that was yesterday. Wait, sorry. It might be, we might see not chop his head off. Oh, it's My Bijou. So this is not just a riff. This is an instrumental, mostly an instrumental from a Queen there. So he just did this today, a little while ago. That's his guitar right there. He likes those high notes, doesn't he?
Good evening, folks.
Oh yeah, I did see that. The other night, this was so good.
Good evening, folks. Don't like crazy music. Don't like rock and band. Just wanna go to the show. They're all in hand. You're so square. Baby, I don't care.
So he plays this old Elvis song, and and then he talks about it, and he shows you how he plays the chords and different ways to play a B chord. So he does some guitar teaching and showing, and then he talks, and this was so good.
Hey, folks. Happy Sunday. A song from the fabulous Beatles. I'm sure it won't be as good as the original, but here I stand with head in hand, turning my face to the wall.
You've got to hide your love away. And then he talks about how much he loved the Beatles and how John Lennon, not necessarily the world's greatest guitarist, he says, but one of the great songwriters of our time. And anyway, so cool. I highly recommend you follow Brian May on his Instagram or just go check these things out. Pretty much daily, he's posting something where he talks and he plays guitar, little combination, and it's so good. So Sarah, there you go. Did you see any of that, or did you just bail to go watch that? Ellen, Mark Kaplan, and Albert Nurek are there. My absolute favorite song, Bijou. It's very nice. You had a cat named Bijou. He would have played it in MSG, Madison Square Garden. I would have lost it. It's hauntingly beautiful. Yeah, it gets really nice. I wanted to name my dog Bijou. That's one of my top 5 Beatles songs. Hey, it's really interesting to hear him go, hey, you've got to hide your love away. Hey, Sarah, did you see? I played a little Brian. I played a little bits of a few of those. Oh, and he does Keep Yourself Alive, and he does Hammer to Fall, and they're so good. So, oh my God. Hold on. And he does another cover of an old song. This is Keep Yourself Alive, but just a little bit of it, like, because he's just at home. It's not his guitar. You know, he has so this is a replica of the Red Special, and he has a company, Brian May Guitars, that make these duplicates of his guitar, and he's playing one of those. He's playing a Brian May guitar that he's already signed, but he really liked the grain on this one, so he thought he would play it a while before they send it out to someone or something. And he just has a little amp, and he's just at home.
Good evening, folks.
But this is so good.
And flanging.
I was told a million. I can't hit those notes, I don't think. But Brian May, there can be only one. Sarah says I have multiple screens, so I don't have to choose between my Brians. Was gonna say Bryce, but that's different. Yeah, Briss. That's right. Is that Bryce or Briss? I love that. It's amazing that he can sound just like that. He's playing multiple guitars on the studio album, but that's such a cool sound. Puts his little flanger on it and whatever else he needs. So Brian May, yeah. Anyway, Ellen, it's so funny that you tuned in. Like, I shouldn't even still be on. I've been talking forever, and we got to wrap this up because it may cut us off anyway. So, you're tired. This is draining. Who could sit through this? Who are you people? What was that? Yeah, I got a notification that Brian just posted 10 minutes ago. So he didn't do it live, but he recorded it, and he just posted that that one video of Bijou 10 minutes ago. So holy crap, 10 minutes ago, it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's like 6 a.m. in London or in the UK, wherever he is. Anyway, that just rocked. Yep. What's the max? 4 hours? It might be 4 hours. It might be 8 hours. But I'm coming up on, I'm at 3 hours and 43. This was a super long one because all these friends that are watching had a lot to say and they kept me talking. Brighton Talk. He hasn't done Brighton Rock. He should do Brighton Rock. Those songs are probably ingrained into his muscles. Absolutely. As he says, that was the first song that he wrote for Queen, the first song that he wrote for Freddie to sing, and it's the first song on the first Queen album. Rock. What's the max? 4 hours? Yeah. Brian tests the limit. Facebook cuts off after 4 hours, but how long does YouTube go? He's a night owl and an early bird. It hasn't been good, Ellen. Running myself ragged. Let's just wrap this up. This has been great. I was thinking of reading you some other broad again, but we will save it for another time. I think we've done enough. Haven't we done enough? Seriously, people. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Oh, you mean Brian? He's a night owl and an early bird. Yeah, well, so am I. All the Bryans are. Hey, Ellen, look at this. My friend Elena that I go to the Lindau meeting with, she asked me for my address and she sent me these are, where is it? Queen Happy Socks, happysocks.com, and they say, we will sock you. And it's like, there's Brian May. There's Freddie Mercury. Roger Taylor. John Deacon is down by your toes. I'll have to take them out and fold them differently, but she sent me some very flamboyant Queen socks. Yeah, cute. Yeah, can I wear those? I mean, no one's really gonna see them anyway. They're kind of crazy. Ellen should be your first guest star. Yeah, you coming on, Ellen? Talk about mediation. And Todd. All right, Susan, thank you so much. Yeah, let's do it. Thanks for joining us, Ellen, but right here at the tail end, Albert and Susan and Darla and Kimberly and Mark. Mark, you're always the first one on. Denise, Sarah, if you're still out there. Do we have anyone else? That might be most of the people if you're watching out on Facebook or on Periscope. Thanks for tuning in. And like Dad was Brian, Freddie, Roger, and Todd. Exactly. Dad was not a night owl, though. Mom was a night owl. Dad was more of the morning person, right? So you guys have been awesome. This has been fun. The socks. Dad didn't have Queen socks, but he did walk around in socks, white socks that were in shorts or underwear or his black socks. Yeah. Darla, night folks, stay safe down there. Stay safe up there, you Canadians, you crazy Canadians. This was going to be a short one, but you know how that goes. But get some sleep. Be safe out there. And we'll do it again. I might try to do this every night in April or every day, but some of them I might do some live streams over on Instagram. But we'll see. I got to settle into a regular time. Help me figure out. Tell me your time zone and what works for you best. That's a real challenge. I don't know what the best time to do it is. And people are home during the day too, but I'm trying to get work done during the day and then I can relax and do this at night. All right, everybody. Thank you. Good night. You rock. Thanks for supporting. Thanks for chatting. Good night. And have a pleasant tomorrow.